are indeed qualified for. If you want to know how to get a job you're not qualified for, you're going to have to buy me drinks at the bar, okay? So, people ask me all the time, Suzanne, will you review my resume? And I'm like, well, tell me what's going on. Oh, I mean, I keep getting these interviews and I'm not getting a job. Well, you don't have a problem with your resume. You have a problem with your interview, okay? This is probably the most important aspect if you were in a job search. What we call the job seeker journey, okay? You do research. That is the first step. Then you have your resume. Your resume is not designed to get you a job. I hear it all the time. Oh, Suzanne, I need a resume. I need to get a job. No, your resume is designed to get you a conversation. The conversation is going to get you an interview. The interview is what gets you a job. And that's incredibly important. So where are you in your journey? What we're going to talk about today. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is how you can use ChatGPT throughout the entire journey. Okay, so starting off with research. The more research you know, the more you understand what your market is, the jobs that you're looking for, the skills you need, the better you're going to be. One of the things I love about ChatGPT, it is now for you like having a career coach in your pocket at all times. Super cool. Some prompts that you can put into ChatGPT. It is very important that we increase our prompt engineering skills, as they're now called, right? And just some things that I prompted ChatGPT with. So, stats on the cybersecurity sector. Are cybersecurity jobs in demand? You don't even hear more about them, but make sure you get your quote before you take a picture. Because there's absolutely someone's going to put a picture of me like this.
You guys will get all these slides once the whole
you don't have to take every picture. The workbook I put together for you is so much better than this. Okay. But so are cybersecurity jobs in demand? List of associations for cybersecurity professionals. You can put prompts in on what are the job titles. Here's the thing, I have people that come to me and they're like, well, I'm looking for a cybersecurity analyst specific position to get. I'm like, well, what are the alternative job titles for that? Have you even considered it? Because now with the modern job search, people come up with the funkiest job titles I've ever heard. 25 years ago, everybody was in job title. That's not the case today. If you expand your job titles, you will expand your opportunities. So important, right? So alternative job titles for enter whatever job you're looking for. Job titles found in the government sector. So let's say you know that you want to work in nonprofit or you want to work in government. So important. As job seekers, you need to know what type of job do you want to work in? What type of company? Do you want to work in a startup scene or do you want to work in a Fortune 100 company? Very different, right? The way you're going to go about your job search. ChatGPT can tell you that type of information. What are the job titles found in the government sector? What are the job titles for cybersecurity found in the banking sector? Things like that. So here is a sample. So I put in what are alternative job titles for cybersecurity analysts. And look at all these job titles I got. Most of them now, you can expand your job search. Before, we would have sat at our desks and we would have been like, what am I going to look for? There's no cybersecurity analyst jobs that I want. What am I going to do? And now we have it all there available for us, right? All right, what industries? I really like this because you can look at, I want to be a cybersecurity specialist and I want to work in the banking industry or in the finance industry. And then you can go with your next prompt and say, what are the most popular financial systems in whatever as a cybersecurity analyst? And it will tell you what are the most popular financial systems for cybersecurity professionals to know. That was the prompt I put in. And now I know if I want to work in banking, or maybe I'm career changing and I worked in banking, but now I want to be in cybersecurity, do you know these trading platforms? Do you know these banking platforms? You can now look at, this is my skills deficit, and I can figure out how do I add these skills on if I do indeed want to be in the banking industry. Any questions on that? All right. Again, more prompts. Hard skills needed, soft skills needed. What are the transferable skills from a customer service representative to a cybersecurity analyst? And that is the prompt that I put in as a sample because that's something I get all the time. I want a career change. Can I use my skills from my former career into my new career? Well, now, with the help of ChatGPT, we can integrate this information into our resumes, right? Because the resume is designed to get us a
job.
Sure. The resume is designed to get us a conversation, right? In the conversation, we're going to talk about our previous experience and what makes us a superstar to transition into this new career. But we know now, okay, this is the information I need to talk to in my interview. All right, list of the top employers for remote work. I love that. Top cybersecurity companies in Tampa. Looking for an internship, looking for an apprenticeship, looking for an entry-level job. There's your top companies for cybersecurity in Tampa, right there. All right there. Before, we'd be Googling, we'd be like spending hours hoping that the web page that came up in the SERP, right, that it's going to give us some type of information. All right there now. Oh, more companies. I knew you guys would want to see the companies. It's in the handout. All right, so now let's talk about the resume. What can we use ChatGPT for our resume? Again, resume is designed to get you a conversation. Will somebody want to pee? Right? All right, so you can actually copy your resume, paste it into the prompt, and before, like, so you have to type in first, critique my resume. Paste in your resume, hit enter, and it will tell you a critique of your resume. You no longer need to wait till I get to my office at 9 o'clock, have my cup of coffee till 9:30, talk to Cassandra about her day till 10, to then ask me to review your resume. You have it right here. So Sunday night when you're getting ready for your week, you can actually drop this in. Now, is it going to be absolutely 100% accurate? No, but it's a start, right? Then you can take the critique it gave you and you can come to professionals like myself or like Amy who just left, and you can ask us, hey, you know, what do you think about this in my particular resume? As compared to, hey, Suzanne, will you review my resume? Because every single time that happens, I go, oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it looks okay. But resumes now need to be specific to the types of jobs that you're looking for. So asking somebody to review a resume is kind of hard now, right? What's the job description? You know, what are you looking for? Is this job description absolutely in line with your prior skills? Are you career transitioning? All types of things. We can get a critique. All right, what should I include on my resume? List of skills, so important. Here's a critique my resume. Put it in. Came up with, as a front-end developer, this is what you should do. So it took the resume, which did not have a professional summary, it had professional skills, right? And then it gave me an entire critique of the resume. So you can now start to build this in. All right, so when it came to creating the resume, some prompts that I threw in were write a resume for. Now, it is absolutely not going to write you a resume with your prior experience. Everybody know that? Everybody got that? It's not going to write you a resume with your prior experience. You have to take what it gives you and adjust it for you. There's no more spending 3 hours looking at the screen going, oh gosh, where do I start? This is stressful. What do I do now? It's hard. You can start, yeah, on a friend, on your new friend, ChatGPT. So you can now drop in, start with a resume, right? You get a shell, and then you can build it from there. This really is taking the drudgery. Anybody watch the Microsoft Copilot launch? Seriously, I love that word. It's taking the drudgery. Really, nobody saw it? Okay, tonight. Thank you, thank you. It's really awesome. It's really great. Yeah, I don't believe you. So this is taking the drudgery out of things that were very, very stressful for us, right? Who likes to write? Who likes to write a resume? Yeah, I do. Yeah, one friend. Everybody should friend him in fact. It's your friend right there. All right. So now we're going to talk about some prompts for the conversation, right? We have this killer resume. We know what skills need to be in it. We know what industry we're targeting from our research, and we're building our resume with all of that. Now we're going to talk about the prompts designed for conversations. So how can I effectively introduce myself and communicate my professional background during networking events or job fairs, right? People ask that all the time. Wait, I have to go out networking? What do I say when I get there? Like, wait, I have to talk to Yes, exactly. Hold on, stand right. So how should I approach and engage with potential employers on professional networking platforms like LinkedIn? These are questions I get asked all the time, and I have for the last 24 years. And now we have a tool that you should absolutely still talk to me. Please talk to me. But you have a tool that can help you get started. Why? So that when you are dealing with professionals who are going to help you in your job search, you are in more control of your career. And that's what this does, is it gives you the ability to know more information, have a more tailored job search, and be in control of your actual career. All right. So here's an example. How can I effectively introduce and communicate my professional background during networking events or job fairs? And it tells you what to do, right? And then you can do one step further. Write my elevator pitch. You write my 30-second commercial, and then you can adjust it. It's so much easier to critique than it is to create, right? Sitting down and writing our 30-second elevator pitch is like, oh gosh, around 25 seconds or 32 seconds. But giving it something to start with, right? Then we can adjust and we can massage and we can say, you know what, that sounds really good. How should I approach and engage with potential employers on professional networking platforms? Optimize your profile. It tells you what to do, right? Personalize your connection request. You shouldn't just slide into somebody's, direct messages without a personalized approach, right? And here's the thing. I don't know if anyone's going to tell you this today, but if they are, don't listen to them. Finding a talent acquisition person on LinkedIn and just connecting and sliding into their direct messages saying, hey, I saw your job posted and I'd love to be considered. Waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Every other person applying for the job is doing the same exact thing, okay? If you applied, they know you applied, you need to find a back door to have a conversation with that person. Every single person who is applying for a job through LinkedIn is trying to find the talent acquisition person and sending them a direct message. You've got to find a different way. Ask ChatGPT. All right, how can I leverage storytelling techniques to make my job search conversations more engaging and professional or memorable, whatever, right? Structure your story, go through, answer the questions. Like, there's so many things that it just gives you for your job search that really will help you out. All right, interviewing. So what can we do with ChatGPT that will actually help you get the job? How do we get jobs? Interviews. Great. We get interviews with conversations, right? If you send me your resume, that resume has to catch my attention. I have to say, yeah, I'll talk to this person, right? And then after the conversation, I go, you know what? You seem fairly qualified. Let's set up an interview, a more in-depth, right? A more formal conversation about your prospects for this or your abilities to do this particular role. All right, so prompts for the interviewing. Write popular interview questions for a cybersecurity analyst. Answer the popular questions. Really? Come on. Then we read them. We can practice them. Now, with our friends, we can say, hey, let's do a mock interview, okay? Here's my questions you ask me. Here, give me the questions I'm going to ask you, right? Practice makes progress. You don't want the interview for the job you really, really want to be the first time you've gone through the questions. You need to practice them, right? You don't want to sound robotic, but you want to sound confident. You want to sound like, I want this position. I am well rehearsed. I'm going to be a great asset to your organization. Having the answers, you can figure out, okay, you know what? I don't want to say that, but maybe I do want to say this instead, and then you can practice them. What are questions I can ask in an interview? If I had $1 for every time people ask me, hey, Suzanne, do you have a list of questions I can ask at the end of an interview to sound smart? Now we all have the list of questions, right? Now remember, you can bring the portfolio with you in an interview. You can have those questions printed out on a word sheet or whatever it may be, or handwritten in your notebook, whatever it may be, because you don't want to ask questions that they already answered. So I'll meet people that say, oh, I have a question I ask at the end of every interview. And I go, yeah, what happens if they cover that in an interview? What do you ask them? Well, you can't ask the same question they already covered, right? Because then you'll seem like you weren't paying attention. What are the interview questions to gauge my soft skills? So here's some prompt examples, popular interview questions for cybersecurity professionals. Write out the answers to the questions. You can tell it was late at that point. I was just like, sample questions. I know ChatGPT and I were on a very informal level at that point. Sample questions I should ask in an interview. Can you describe the company's cybersecurity culture and how it aligns with the overall business strategy, right? If they didn't cover that, that's a great question. Career progression, I love that question because employers want to know you want to be with the company, right? So what are popular interview questions to gauge my soft skills? Can you describe a time, right? How do you handle conflicting? So you have these sample questions. There's no longer, interviews are open book tests at this point. You have all the information, we just need to prep. Okay, going into offers. So now you've nailed the interview. So now what are some prompts we can use to actually go over offers? What factors should I consider when evaluating a job? What factors should I consider when evaluating a job offer? That's the same exact question. What strategies or tips can you provide for negotiating a job offer? So what factors should I consider when evaluating a job? Now here's the thing. What's important to me is not important to you, okay? And what's important to you is not going to be important to him in evaluating a job. This is a list of things that you can consider because you don't want to get the job start and then go, oh God, I wish I would have asked about those benefits. Or wait, I need health insurance. How did I miss that? And this is all very real. This happens to people all the time in their job search journey. So having a list of what are the factors I can consider, you may see one and be like, oh, you know what? I should ask a question at the end of the interview about what are the growth opportunities in your organization or your commitment to continuing education for your cybersecurity team, right? Really important. How do I determine if a salary offer is competitive based on the role? Here you go. What strategies or tips can you provide for negotiating a job offer? First one, research. I think every single person who's ever worked in helping job seekers through the journey, the first thing they say, right, comes down to negotiating a job. You need to make sure you have all the research. And then you can even go deeper, right? What type of research? What sites should I use for research? What resources should I use for research? All right, so in summary, I'm going to take a few questions. ChatGPT is a great job search tool, but you need to double check. You need to know your job search. You need to know the jobs that you want to apply for. No one is going to care more about your job search than you. That is just the truth, okay? No one's going to care more than you. You need to take the initiative to actually find the information, prepare, make sure you are staying on track with your job seeker journey. All right, here's the QR code again to the companion workbook. If you didn't get it in the beginning, go ahead, you can scan. Yes.
I have a question.
Questions?
I keep hearing about ATS resumes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered it, I came a little bit late, I apologize, but I keep hearing ATS resumes.
Late people don't get to ask questions in my room. You know that. All right, I'm going to answer that question. I'm just joking. Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, applicant tracking systems, right? They compare your resume to job descriptions. You can drop the resume and the job description in ChatGPT, and it will literally create a resume for you based on that job description. So I did that. I just literally took a resume, I took a job description, dropped it in, said write a resume, took that resume and threw it in the software that tells you what a percentage match you are for the applicant tracking system. I was at 40% without any edits. Nothing. I didn't edit at all. And so from there, you can do the edits to what are your skills, right? How can you enhance your resume? So it will help you tremendously. It's a great tool.
How can you check your ATS? Is there a way to check that?
Job scan. Bye, Dash. That's my son.
Hey guys, real quick, I just want to let you know, if you bought your resume reviews start at 12 o'clock over in the bunker. You'll see signs leading you to the rooms. The only way you can get a headshot is to get your resume reviewed. So you get a free headshot if you brought your resume.
Or you can use tryitonai.com.
I have a question about that. We have, Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Suzanne. Put your hand, everybody. Good job. All right, we got Candace Williams coming up next. She's gonna give another talk for us. Yes, dear. Thank you.
Appreciate your resume.
I did a presentation on the channel at one.
I'll push my
Sounds good. Okay, it's good presentation.
Thank you. Exactly.
Oh, you're, hey, hold on. You're the first person.
I probably like, I was trying to use my okay, it's not my turn. I actually pulled out on LinkedIn and asked if you care that all your resumes are going to be well, me thinking about no, they were here because they so now I feel like eventually we're going to do that.
Some ran a little over, some ran a little bit short. It all balanced out a while.
I mean, I don't think that this is 100%, but I think that it's right. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what it does. And honestly, if they're not doing this and not to get to go out, like, if you don't care enough, that's like, and especially this industry, and I was like, oh my God, I just throw it in ChatGPT, and like, that's all my content in there. Like, that's what it is. Yeah. And I read all of our blogs now. I mean, you can make cosmetics customized, but I mean, that takes that for like an hour and a half.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I just think so much to do. I love it. This is where we drop the resume off?
No, the resume is on the other side. I go downstairs. Yeah. You'll see. And then it's your resume.
So I saw the snap. And I saw it.
Yeah, so if you go straight across, you'll see there. Yes, the sign says resume. Okay, the sign.
I'll try.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
I'm still getting used to it, like, this is awesome. You're not using it to augment your job. And Microsoft will pilot
Oh, you got the line of this?
I mean, anybody can lie with or without. And they'll find out in the interview, so.
All right, I'll see you later. We'll give it a few more minutes. We'll make sure you get everybody this out there. Well, actually, everything's been pretty good across the board. Everyone's kind of just absorbing because it's just a lot of information, but they're all kind of one side and do the same thing, helping them figure out how to get a job. That's the plan. I'm trying to see if when the other talk finishes. Yeah, I think I just want to make sure that the other talk is ended, so somebody's not wrong there.
This room's gonna be all day. In like 2 minutes, it's gonna be.
Yeah, because just right now. No. I may have to grab you too, if you don't mind, because Shandy, who's gonna do my interviews with Sebastian, her daughter got sick. So she had to pull off, so I'm gonna ask her. Yeah, I sent that out to you guys. It's the one about the job that we do. Yeah, SAIC.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at it.
Yeah.
We'll get started.
Yeah, we might as well.
Yeah, I don't mind having a conversation, so that means we're gonna all talk individually, right? I'm not everybody interviewing.
Okay, guys, so Candace is going to give you a great talk. She is one of my military counterparts, and I appreciate her for her service as well. She's been out here for a little bit, taking care of things that don't be allowed, so she gives some information.
Awesome. So why am I here today? I'm gonna share with you guys, right? So I've been in cybersecurity now for almost 20 years. Well, let me caveat this. I'm only behind this table because my mind and my brain to remember all this stuff kind of disconnects. I have notes, right? So it's not to separate myself, but it's just to make sure I have those. So I've been in cybersecurity for about 20 years. So along my journey in the military, Air Force, and DOD, defense contracting, I've learned a lot, right? I've picked up some nuggets, picked up some strategy, and I want to share. Right? So as you guys kind of embark on your careers, I don't know if anyone here is new to cyber, transitioning, like not yet in cyber, or maybe coming from another career to cyber, either one of those things. I think there are things that we kind of, when we understand how things work and kind of pick up on, what makes our careers thrive for us, we can share those things. So that's what I'm here to do. Nothing magical, it's just to share and have that conversation. So is anybody here prior military? Before you Army, okay, my husband's in Army.
That's what I'm talking about.
I got, he gives me so much slack for in the Air Force, but you know how the banter kind of goes. Okay. So I was in the Air Force, I did 6 years in the Air Force, and I was 3 Charlie. So in the military, they have AFSCs for Air Force, MOSs for Army, but it's essentially like your job code. So as a 3 Charlie, I essentially did information assurance. I managed programs, communication security, computer security, mission security. I handled all that and kind of looked at the overarching programs for different squadrons that I was a part of. So I do that same thing now on the DOD defense sector side, do the exact same thing. But I kind of started out in the military, and when I joined, I remember the recruiter asking me, like, what do you want to do? And I told her I want to work on computers. I just knew that I wanted to work with computers and technology. So as a young girl, I kind of had an affinity for technology, right? I was always kind of tinkering with computers, kind of playing around. That was just my thing. I like solving problems, figuring things out. That is just Candace. So when I joined, that's what I said. And I ended up in that 3 Charlie career to work on computers, right? So that's what I did. So for those in the military, how long were you in the military?
Altogether,
Yeah.
28 years.
Oh my God. Good. If I had thought, that's solid.
I was recently retired. But I was active duty Army, joined the reserves, and then went back to HBR, active duty reserves, and then retired to
Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you for sure for the service. I did 6 years. I know when you say 20, I'm like, oh. But still, it's still service. So 28 years. Anyone else? How long were you?
21.
So I was in 6 years in the military, and now I work at Ricci Technology as a senior manager. So I oversee about 10 sites. We work on collateral programs with national security information. So if you're familiar with top secret, either confidential information, that's what we deal with at Ricci Technology. And so there's sites that I oversee in Virginia, Indianapolis, Florida, Texas, all around. So in that, like I said, as I've navigated and as you navigate, I think, again, there are things that are tried and true when it comes to how we manage our careers and how we grow. So I kind of use the word decide, and I distilled this whole thing down into an acronym to just kind of describe some of those strategies, and like I said, I'm gonna share that with you guys today. So we're gonna look at D. We're gonna look at discovery, right? So I know you kind of heard, and I've heard in some of the other talks, that when you're looking at jobs and roles, you need to know yourself, right? You can't go shop blasting and find all these jobs, and you're not really a fit for that role in terms of your personality, in terms of your skill set. You want to make sure you are a fit for a job. So I look at it as the 5 W's, right? The who, what, when, where, and why. So the who are you piece is a big piece. So like I said, Candace was curious. I was the one who, when my computer broke in the 90s, my little solitaire and Minesweeper games I kept playing for, I'm trying to figure out how to fix the computer. I had no idea what I was doing. I was 9 or 10 years old, sitting there, mad, upset, restarted the computer, because we all know when you restart a computer, it fixes everything, right? So that was me. So I tinkered, and I know who I am today, right? I'm that same person that likes to solve problems and strategize and figure things out. You cannot give me information down to the minutia, because I would probably fall asleep. That's my personality, I know myself, right? So it's knowing who you are and how you work with information, how you work in general is a huge part of who, what, when, where, and why. So here's what I say. When I look at myself and you look at you, right? Cybersecurity it begins and it ends with humans. I know all this AI stuff, but it begins and ends with humans, right? Because we're the ones that are protecting data. We're the ones that are making sure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data is still there, right? That's our role.
I call a company and I say, I'm a password inspector. What's your password?
Right. Don't do that. It's not my fault. But it is, right? It begins and it ends with us, right? No matter how we look at it, no matter what's going to kind of come in the future with cybersecurity, it's still about the person. So knowing who you are and how you fit within a role is important. Knowing your personality. So I always say the what, the W, the what part, right? So what do you want in your career, right? I know we have a lot of jobs are posted, a lot of things that we're kind of put out there. There's so much information around, and for free information about cybersecurity, but really understanding what you want is important. Where do you want to be in your career? What are your career goals? Where do you want to see yourself? So understanding that is important as you kind of navigate, because again, we're bombarded with so much data that if you don't know what is, you're not going to be successful in kind of focusing and honing in on something and actually getting results from this search, from these interviews, from this whole process and your journey, your career. So knowing that what part. The when, it's just timeline goals. Y'all gotta have goals. You gotta have a timeline. You can't just have some arbitrary goal out there and just say, I want to be in cybersecurity and it's gonna happen. Have a goal, right? Is it 6 months you want to have your first job? Is it a year you want to have your first job? What does that look like for you specifically? And be clear on that when. I said earlier, the where part, where you get your resources. So even me being in for 20 years, I get overwhelmed with so much information on LinkedIn. I've seen posts where they have like 50 different locations to get a certification, 50 different reasons. I'm like, whoa, I don't even know where to go for myself, and I've been here for a while. So really understanding where you go to get your information, where you want to get your data. Have a reputable organization, ISO squared, right? Some organization, RESIS, right, that you actually use as your resource kind of pool. Not that you can't go outside of that, but you want to still be clear on where you get your resources from, because it's a lot out there. And then the why. So here's this part is big for me, is your why. Why cybersecurity? I know cybersecurity is sexy right now, right? It's a thing, right? You hear it all over the place, it's a buzz. But being in for as long as I have isn't because it's this, right? It's because I enjoy what I do and I have a passion for what I do. Here's where I kind of give this analogy. I know it's a little left field, but let's give you some grace, right? So if you guys have a heart condition, let's say, oh, you know, if you have a heart condition, right? You know it's a heart doctor. And you're in his office, you're talking, and he kind of just, he's really nonchalant, right? He's just like, oh, giving you kind of like a cold shoulder, not really engaging with you. And he's about to perform surgery on your most vital circulatory organ in your heart, right? So I equate that to an organization's data, right? So when you go to a company, their data, their information systems nowadays are literally their vital organs that you're protecting as a cybersecurity practitioner. So to kind of have this nonchalant attitude of like, I'm here for the paycheck, I'm just here because it sounds good, isn't what you want to do, right? You want to make sure you have a true vested interest in what you're doing so that you are protecting that data. Especially now as it pertains to like national security information, right? We understand critical infrastructure is a big deal, making sure it's protected. So you want to have that passion and understand your why. Because this job isn't easy. It's not always fun. I've I want to take my laptop and toss it many a times across the room, right, because it's frustrating or something's happened that I couldn't control. But I feel like, like, I enjoy people, I enjoy solving problems, right? That is my why. So understanding that piece. So that's the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. So that's the discover piece. You guys have probably heard it 11 times today, but the next piece is the engage, right? So engaging for me has been like the biggest like gift, I guess, is the engagement and networking, right? It's not just about knowing people just to get what you're gonna get from them, but like connecting with people, like that's my thing. I like to give, I like to inspire, I like to encourage, but that's how I engage. For a while, I wasn't engaging at all. So I think maybe about 10 years of breakdown, my head was down, I'm working, getting promoted, moving up, doing all that good stuff, not really looking back out into the community, right? It's beyond just the organization, right? Cybersecurity is a community, right? So I wasn't engaging. It took COVID for me to sit up and be like, okay, there's stuff happening out here, right? I'm next to my husband, I'm moving my next 2nd grade teacher. It was just a lot, right, during COVID. And I said, when the world opens back up, I'm out of here, right? I'm gonna engage, I'm gonna get back in some kind of way. So that was my kind of spark to say I need to be engaging and actually in the community in Tampa. So my first stop was LinkedIn. I know we've heard of LinkedIn all day because it's important. LinkedIn is a great tool. This is not a branding session, but if you're not on LinkedIn already, are we on LinkedIn? Is everybody on LinkedIn? Let me answer sit down. No, you can be on LinkedIn. That's where I went first. Like I literally, for me as a hiring manager, I hired people because of LinkedIn. They inboxed me, caught my attention. I said, okay, well, let me look at your resume. And I've done it. And I told them where to go to get, to actually apply for a role. And I've hired people from LinkedIn. And this is a trial on paying me. I have personally. So unpause, no more LinkedIn talk, right? So I personally said, well, as I'm on this journey, figuring out my why, where I want to kind of engage, how I want to make an impact. I've hired a therapist, a business coach. I went in, y'all. I went in to figure out my why. Not my why, how I want to engage. And so when I did that, I said, well, I'm going to find a way to kind of connect women in this space in Tampa, because I didn't see that yet when I initially started looking around. So I decided to host a brunch. I know some of you guys have been to the brunch before, and you guys enjoyed it or whatever, but I decided that was my way to get back and build community and kind of connect people in the space. LinkedIn was one. The brunch was another, speaking, right? Getting out, speaking in front of people, sharing my story in different venues and how I pursued my career, how I got to where I am, right? That was the way I engaged. So however you choose to engage, whether it's LinkedIn, whether you're speaking, whether you're creating events or just attending events like you are now, you want to make sure you're connected with the community, because opportunities and these connections that you make, it might not look like something now, maybe it's just a high or a 5, but you don't know who you're going to get the next event, and the next event, and the next event, who may be the person that hires you at your next role, right? You have no idea what these connections and this engagement is going to be for your career. So take that engagement piece seriously. The next, curiosity, right? So this part, I always say, if you're not curious in cybersecurity, I'm not sure what you're doing. There's so much, like I said earlier, information out there for us to kind of always be gleaning and learning about the trends in technology, the new technologies that come out. You always have to kind of take time to say, each week, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull some articles up that teach me about some new technology that came out. I'm going to refresh myself on certification, whatever it is, but you want to always have that curiosity. It not only helps you as a practitioner, right? So if I know what trends are happening or what's coming, as I'm working, I can consider these things in my actual hand to keyboard work. Or if you're informing a board, right, or your team on threats or things that are happening in the landscape, to be aware of what's going on is important. And curiosity is where that kind of sparks. You always want to be curious and maintain that awareness on what's going on in the industry. So curious was a short one. So the next one is our I. Being intentional. So as you embark on this journey, I think that, or as you embark and continue, right? It's a continued process, but being intentional about what you're doing. I think that everything that I do and everything that you do should be done with a clear purpose in mind. Like, why are you doing it? Like, what are you doing it for? And there are a couple things I always want to highlight when I say it. So every day, I normally have like one or two things, and I say three, but I have one or two that I'm serious about honing on. But every day I'm deliberate with something. I pick three things, and those three things are tied to a goal I have. So let's say you guys, I don't know, you want to get your assist. Everyone wants assist. One of your goals could be, today I'm going to study 30 minutes, and this is a non-negotiable. This is what I'm going to do today, and there is no way around that, right? Second one could be, I'm going to pull up an article that talked about the last person that took the system, what they experienced, whatever it is. But each day, when you're intentional, you have those three non-negotiable things you're doing for that day. That no matter what, at the end of the day, before I lay my head down, this is what I'm going to do. Like I said, I have one or two. Really a better benchmark. The second is being clear on the results you want, right? So what do you want to see, right? If your three goals are towards your assist, then that's where you want to end up, or your three goals are towards your next role, then you make sure you have those three things that are aligned with that clear result that you want to see from your career or in your career. The third is being thoughtful with your focus, right? When you have 50, 11 things going on, it makes it really hard to be clear and study and actually make some progress on those goals. So when if you can, because I have twin girls, I don't know if everybody has kids, so sometimes thoughtful focus can be a little challenging, but where you can, take that time, right? And make sure when you're studying or whatever it is that you're doing, you're there. When I took my CISM, I just had my twin girls, and we just moved. There was so much going on. And it took my husband kind of coming in saying, okay, I need you to take the time to study, I need you to focus on what you're doing so you can pass. And I ended up passing my first time. But the next point is really involving those close relationships that you have with people, making sure you have a tribe for helping you out with your process. So you're studying, whatever it is, having them help you out along that journey, and making them aware of what you're doing so that they can actually assist and help you out. Right? So that's being mindful of your most important relationships when you are working through this process. All right? D is the differentiator, right? So I always say we are the differentiators in our career and our journey. It's us, right? You're that one thing that's different than me, than you, than you, than you, than you, right? We are the differentiators. So I think when we look at a cybersecurity team, it shouldn't be homogenous, right? Everyone should not look the same. There should be that diversity, whether it's your ethnicity, whether it's your background, whether it's your professional background, whether it's where you're from. All those things should be taken into consideration when we're building our pipeline and actually building our teams within cybersecurity. So when I first transitioned into cyber, 20 years ago, right? All this stuff wasn't here, right? All these courses, all these the diversity, it was not here, right? I didn't see anyone who was like Candace. It was just what it was 20 years ago. But now I really personally, I take a passion in making sure we're heard, right? People are heard. We have to make sure the cybersecurity pipeline is diverse, right? To see different people, different experiences. And that's, to me, what makes a team effective. The different experiences, the different backgrounds, it makes a team more effective. Because it is hard to see yourself in a position where you don't see someone who looks like you, talks like you, walks like you. It's hard, right? But at the end of the day, like I said, we need more people in cybersecurity in general. The skills gap that we have, I think you probably heard about it already today, goes beyond, just an organization or a person, right? It's what we all have. We have to work with to make sure we have a more diverse pipeline. The last is E, and that's you're enough. So how many of you guys have dealt with imposter syndrome? Where you feel like, yeah, that you don't belong, or like, oh my God, why am I here? How did I get here? So I'm gonna raise 2 hands because I think it plagues me probably, I feel more than most, but who knows? We all feel a personal attestation of that kind of thing when it's you. But for those who have not heard of it, I'm gonna just read the definition, right? And for those who have, it's gonna be a refresher. So imposter syndrome is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments, and they have a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, right? As a whole fraud. Like, your gigs up, you're out of here, right? So, like I said, I've dealt with imposter syndrome a lot, right? It's been something that I've been challenged with, but one thing I've learned is it's not about the fear of being exposed, it's about me standing in whatever, even if I am exposed, right? I may not know as much as you think I do, but I know something, right? And what I know is valuable, and really standing in that and standing in your own power, right? So that's kind of where I sit with imposter syndrome, because it always happens, and it's not something that can be, it's not a blanket. Sometimes it's situational, right? When you're doing something new, when you're transitioning to something new, Like, you were in the military 28 years, and I'm sure in the military, you were like, let's go, like, I know what I'm doing, but when you come out of it, you're like, oh, snap. Like, what is this world, right? And there may be a situational feeling of imposter syndrome. This is how it works. So I'm gonna give a truth, and then I'm gonna give a few strategies that I use to make sure I'm, I kind of stand in that power, right? So the truth is, and I think we all know this in theory, but the reality is, it doesn't matter your title, who you are, where you're from, how much money you have, none of that stuff. Anybody can be impacted by the feeling of, I'm an imposter, I don't belong here, I shouldn't be here. So the first strategy I use is to be braggadocious. That's the word I use, right? I know sometimes you want to be, humble and all that stuff, but when you do something, when you accomplish something, anything that you've been successful in, you share that. You write that thing down, you announce that thing, you make sure not only you know you were successful, but other people should know you're successful, right? Be braggadocious about what you do. Don't stand and shrink. No one wants you to be humble, and it's not a cocky thing in a negative way. It's being confident in what you've done, right, and standing in that. So be braggadocious. The second is sweat the small stuff. So anything you do, I don't care. If you go update your LinkedIn and you do it, you say, I did my LinkedIn, look at that, like I did that. Or, I've signed a course certification, or I've joined Recess. I don't know, anything that you do that's small. When you start something new, it's an accumulation of wins. And so when you kind of see a trend, like I'm doing these things, I'm moving in this direction, it kind of gives you more confidence to sweat that small stuff. Listen, y'all, I don't care what I do. If I did a CBT on LinkedIn, I'm gonna put it somewhere. Somebody's gonna hear about that CBT that I did on LinkedIn, on ChatGPT, whatever it is, but it's sweating all that small stuff. Don't make anything passive. And I used to do that often, where I'd be like, oh, that's no big deal. No, it's not big. Everyone does that. No, they don't, right? No, they don't, right? And so you wanna take that accountability for what you've done and celebrate it. Celebrate those small things. So the third is it's networking. I've said it, you've heard it, you have to network. You gotta connect in real life, not just in real life with people. Like, let them see you, give them a hug. Hope it's the people, you're right? I hope give people a hug, right? Smile at them, like engage, right? That's really where the value is. Not just being online or on phones or connected digitally, but it's the human connection, right? So making sure you network. Practicing your elevator speech. Whenever I go to an event, people gotta know what you're doing. So you want to make sure it aligns with where you want to go as well. So granted, tell them what you've done, but have an idea of where you're going in cyber. I'm new to cyber, I'm looking to be a cloud practitioner, and I'm currently studying for my Tech Plus, right? And who knows what that person could be or could have for you if you kind of have that already lined up. So you're not fumbling over your words, and you're not clear on what you want, and you explain that to someone else when you're at an event. So have your elevator speech locked down. And then the last is staying in the know. I think this was kind of tied to curiosity, but making sure you kind of know what's happening in the industry, so that when you're having these conversations or you're at networking events, you can actually engage and talk about those trends or things that are actually engaging and adding value to conversations when you're in other spaces or spaces that are cybersecurity centric. So you want to make sure you stay in the know. But as you guys immerse yourself in cybersecurity and you are more intentional about what you're doing to kind of reduce the space or grow in the space, whether you're moving to the next level or what have you, you want to make sure you decide you use the discovery, being intentional, being curious, right, engaging, and that should be part of your journey, and it'll help in a brighter career. It'll help you. So the last thing I'll say is no one knows it all. In this career field, no one does. I don't care who you are, you can sizzle or Google, I don't care. No one knows it all. We're all learning. It's an iterative process, and it's a journey. So just remember that, and
Awesome. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Candace? Let me show you. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I was saying, what would be your strategies, I guess, to get over the shyness to network? I think, like myself, needing to this like my personality, how much do I actually know, like, how do I get out of myself to not be shy, to actually meet people?
so I'm an introvert. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I feel like it. I'm an introvert. So when I go to an event, I'll say I'm going to meet 2 people. I give myself a number. I'm not trying to save the world, but I'll say at least 2 people that I want to meet, introduce myself to, say hi, And that's what I'll do. And then sometimes, most times, not sometimes, most times when I do that, that person is really friendly. And it ends up being a long conversation or it's more than what I expected. And if it's not, and they're kind of like, hey, what's up? And you walk away, at least you say hi to one person, right? Or two. But that's what I do. I have a threshold. And it's most likely more than that.
So as I'm just curious, there's a lot of people that tends to float around. How do you deal with that?
So in all honesty, I don't attract those kind of people. I don't know,
That's good.
just being honest, I don't attract those kind of people. So maybe it's just the experience, maybe I don't know. But if I did, what would I do with somebody that gave me some stickers? You didn't have to do like that all that.
You step aside. Look.
Yeah, like I don't have the energy for it. I probably let you stand in whatever you think you have and you go back to business. I wouldn't engage.
Because those won't be coming to you for job.
Yeah, you would lose that. Who said it? You said feed the fool. Figure it out. Yeah, don't feed the fool. Earlier, like if you're that kind of person in this community, it's not gonna last long. Because this is such a, like a, I don't know, this, whatever this word is, right? That's what this community is. You can't be that way. You just can't. You're gonna lose opportunity.
So I was gonna say, yeah, I deal with that all the time, and it's just, when I don't tell people what I do, I just let them talk and then just let them assume. That's the best thing to do, like, they kind of, I tell those guys at work, oh, you got it, go ahead. I'm not here to upset you, but I'm like, I can show you my resume, and then we can talk, but I don't.
Yeah, on the tech side, especially.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
That lack of.
IT, especially old school, I see it's like a wolf pack.
Yeah.
You can't show fear because they're attacked. So it's like, don't show fear.
Have a question?
You mentioned the lunches you organized, can you just mention a few other good applicants in town area that I can attend in person?
So I would say go to Eventbrite. That's where I always get it. Eventbrite. So like I know these guys is on Eventbrite. Your coach has a lot of events on Eventbrite. It's Eventbrite. So what Eventbrite I put in cybersecurity events example, you're going to see a ton. You're going to see a ton.
I always have this, like I go to meet up, I get my 50 business cards, and they just sit at the event, and that feels too bad. A lot.
So
I'm trying to overcome it. That's
Yeah.
a good suggestion.
But stick down. You have to get notes, so I can't. My brain can't hold anything.
I used to go to young professionals with meetups, and then it was hangover.
They met up. But yeah, definitely, and also, again, on LinkedIn itself, people put out so many different events
Yeah.
and most are free.
It's
Take advantage of it.
so difficult to follow back up.
Well, it's kind of like what you said, meeting that one or two people every time you get together with your folks, is that one event, right? Say, I'm going to try to get one a month, one every quarter, and take it there, kind of crawl, walk, run type of thing. Don't just jump into the pool. Figure out how to swim first, right? And you'll be more comfortable, and in lieu of that, you'll meet a whole lot of other people that are probably just like you. You figure out it's really not that bad.
So I like the idea about 2 things in a day. I love it.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Thank you, Candace. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, again, I say, if you have not got a chance to get your resume reviewed, please go down the stairs into the bunk area, that's what we call it. You'll see the sign that says resume review. Go there, get your review done, and I have a bunch of recruiters there. Those are the people that do reviews for resumes. The people who do this every day. And then from there, you go around the corner and you'll get your headshot. And that headshot you can use on LinkedIn or wherever else you're going to use it at. But you're always going to have at least 8 headshots somewhere. Definitely, take advantage of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, resume review, so probably.
Yeah, if you go straight across to those stairs, go down, you see a sign that says resume review. Keep going down. Yes, sir. No, they don't. It's just a bunch of recruiters that have been doing it so far.
I'm not happy with that, man. I'm gonna wait for
Right, I mean, it's free. And in that way, and also you may make a contact area. No problem. There it is. You'll be able to get all these after the conference. You're gonna send everybody all that spot. Yeah.
You just get like that extra. Yeah, just the 2 points discovered. Thank
I've been doing sales for them, so at least that's what
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna run to the room and come back if you need a break. Okay, I'll come back to check on you just in case.
All right.
if I could find it on DVD, I would watch it with you. I was like,
I think it's on YouTube.
I love it. The thing is, I've got to, I do use so much of my time. I do my own things.
The lights get
Yeah. And then I got this AI program. My wife asked me the other day about it. I was like, look, hey.
Yeah, it does. It does. I saw one with 4 year shot.
Yeah, I see it.
You can tell I got it, right?
People love this, right?
So you want
I was speaking to a friend of mine.
Those are great baselines because you understand the concept of demo. Once you capture that, then you can, if you want to go into the analyst side, Comcast has a cert called physical, which is security analyst, to the plus. And it covers all the different variations of what you learn, security plus and network. And talk about how to look at the various types of things that come to the side, and looking at managing threat feeds, looking at logs, device feeding to get encrypted. It covers a lot of it.
So would you say getting security plus?
I would, because at least that way you have a baseline to start with. And you can work probably in a tier 1 position, even at a help desk, to get you in the IT realm, with that.
This was my intention.
The key is just getting in working. And once you get in, you can always look at the always look at the smart guy. Hey, I'm sure what you do.
And right now, I was in the shell.
I'm making, getting out of my own way. That's what I keep telling myself. So once I get that, I get my, get that, I've been working, and we've been making connections, so I'm going to start using that. To help build.
Correct. So, when I came here,
I live in Pasco.
okay.
Yeah, live by,
So-
live by out.
Yeah. I used to live up there too, in Wiregrass, in Meadow Point.
Okay.
Yeah. So Suzanne, who did the talk.
Yeah, Suzanne.
Suzanne has grants that she's got, Hillsborough, Pasadena, Nellis County, for free, I think we'll just need certification.
So think about the background courses, a lot of them is where it's during the day.
No, I've been teaching with Suzanne for like 20 years.
Okay.
And we teach night courses, drum courses.
Okay.
And
So that's right.
And we work, so we would do like maybe 2 nights a week type of course.
I have PTSD.
But I just finished this course actually for her.
Okay.
And we did like Tuesday, Thursday. And we went on to take each week. And then after that, we did test prep stuff, and then we schedule exam when we're ready. And that's how you get to the age, so then you start learning the language, concepts. And then you start doing this, okay, now you got that, I can get something. I know some of it from what I did here, and also you start putting puzzles together. And that gives you
An experience.
because the confidence is the key.
Yeah, she's not there.
And then you just believe in you. But that's what you need sometimes. Just that
Company's been
little
around since 2000.
piece.
I can't, I joined 2021.
As a kid, I know everybody does. We all deal with it, right? I know when I was out from the army, from the army, I'm a kid.
Lining up with what I
Can't help
have.
it. Found, working with her, that's what I know for so long, teaching at night with her. I think the job is great. You don't know. Just stepped out into the water, right? But at the same time, you be confident that those people you need to like you realize and they have
Absolutely.
it's a pain in the butt. I know how to do because you still got life, but now you got everything. You still got to do that.
Thank you.
So what would you say would be the best? You say network plus, security plus.
If you want to go into being,
Yeah, I'm sure one day.
I would say network plus. I don't want to network security, nothing bad. I want to be different. And look at both of them, look at how they operate. The view for me, all of this network stuff like cloud. Yeah. And get your network plus, and that will feed you into security. The top tier, most of your services all feed into each other.
Okay.
So what you learn network plus, you'll talk about security. You learn A plus, you'll talk about network plus security. They all kind of intertwine. So it's not like you're starting at the bottom, you're just building onto what you already got. Like Compass also builds on that. Yeah, I remember that, we did that already, I got that. Then you start pushing stuff, you don't have it. It is, man. I'm a DC public school kid, bro.
Take my suit.
You know, God's good, and he gave you everything to there for him. That's all I did.
I appreciate it. Definitely, link to LinkedIn.
Please, I got you
I
already.
got you. We don't
Sure, hit me up.
I appreciate it.
Hello, how are you? This is a part of my intentionality.
Oh,
I wanted to meet face to face with Ricci Kasandra. So I looked up the history
I'm
and
just saying, oh, there you go.
Well, I got out, when I moved to Tampa, February 2021. My last day on active duty was, of course, April 29th. 1 minute, forever. Oh, God, okay. I knew, and the thing is, when I went to, this was supposed to be like maneuvering until I got my next promotion. And when I got there, I just knew I could not do it anymore. I knew it was it. Exactly.
And it's okay.
Well,
No, it's okay.
I still didn't plan appropriately, because at the time, I was under the impression I was gonna get at least 5, 10 more years.
So,
So this is where I'm at.
take that lesson.
Absolutely.
Take it,
Yeah.
because the structure, the things,
Yes, and that's not,
it ain't like that.
no, no.
But it's just like,
Yes.
figure out, we're okay. So we can move. This is the exact same thing. We should figure out how to work on it. Like, you should.
I got TSS, yeah.
Yeah. We do, so you can't say you did a good job.
Yeah.
But, but that's just an issue again. And once you understand that, then you okay, this is how it works. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'll get you set up in
No,
a
you're
second.
all good, I just like, God, I was gonna carry in.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Well, that's what it comes down to. And if you look at the numbers, you're not hiring. You just gave it.
And that's the problem.
Right.
I know, it's a
But the
fact.
military.
Thank you,
We were
indeed.
married.
Thank
I got
you.
you.
And that's the problem.
So you just got divorced, and then you start all over. Seriously
And
though,
that's the problem.
because that loyalty.
Yes, it is. Thank you. So you know what I'm
Oh,
talking
I
about?
know.
I need a support group.
I never.
Well, that's the problem. I'm finding out that I'm not married to these people. But because of the commitment on the inside of that, it's like you don't want to let go. Well, help.
Trust.
What's the support group?
It's gonna happen.
So what is the support group I can join?
You got my link.
I'm about to look at you.
Because there's a bunch of us out here. All have walked that same
I
path.
know, and that's what I'm like, where y'all at?
Yes, get it out here.
Okay, so I can do me, but I need to look you up. There was a colonel, full-work colonel, I used to work with. God, what was his first name? He was almost 06 back in, used to work when I worked there, used to work. His name was Bagley. Oh my God, I can't remember. What was his first name? And because you sort of favor him, oh my God, he was such a sweet person. But he retired in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Peter Bagley, second cybersecurity. Connect, I got you. Thank you so much. I'm working for a company right now, so kind of tell you what next solutions. But that's how the material first place. So we support service. Yeah, but sometimes. And that's what you're trying to do.
Not worry about what you do. They will get you. That's fact. And then once you figure out what I want, you get celebration, you get more inflation, let them pay you. But that's okay, you keep asking.
Well, I just pay for it myself.
True.
And I'm getting the.
Always go back and say, look, you want me to do this? I like this training.
They're wanting me to sign up for commitment. Well, you've been for me 2 years, I'm not giving you a This company, I don't know.
You still shop for your revolution. Christian trade,
Thank you.
that's all it is.
What is it about women?
And again, we don't know that when we get out, right?
No, absolutely not.
But when you meet somebody who does know, you
Yes.
get that relationship, you can teach them.
Thank you so much.
I think
Nice to meet you.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Just wanted to
Yes, so if you walk right over that little stairwell there, go down to, it's called bunker, you'll see signs taking right there. Yep.
And you're welcome.
You're welcome. So how are you?
I'm good, I came back to see if you didn't want to run, grab something to eat
I
really
probably
quick.
will, want to make sure she's taken care of. Do you have your HMI?
I do not.
Sure, they don't have it. Do you have your presentation? Because you
I
emailed
go
to
in
me.
it. Can I go in it?
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll put you out there. That's what it said. Send it to me and I'll put it out there for you. It doesn't matter.
We already.
Because I just added to the whole suite of presentations. Send to my Gmail account. EB Cyber. FL. Because they got this recording.
Yeah. Nice. This is for the panel that right?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be after she finishes her presentation.
Yeah, mine's at one.
Yeah, she's at one, she's after that.
Oh, 1:30. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You got a minute?
That's good. Are you guys going out of town? You said you're leaving after this, right?
Yeah, I was supposed to actually drive out today, but I ended up,
No.
changing plans, and I was like, Mom, I don't know if I can even drive down this first week at all, because I have a bunch of medical appointments that I didn't want to change, and I had, like, yesterday off for 2.
Hey, how are you?
I am, I still till the end of April, but I have.
Yeah, she's over all
Follow-ups
the
and
other side
stuff
of
that I'm
the
like trying to
resume.
get
Tell them on over there.
them out of the way
Do
in
you know work
April,
all these videos?
and
We
No,
have
it's
come to
like
some conclusion that we're just gonna keep to it. But it's 4-hour shutdown.
we decided to close.
Okay. We're just trying to change video. We knew about the Teams, because that happened last time.
Yeah.
But we can't get the screen changed right next door, if you get a chance.
You mean to
Yeah,
put
this
up?
is showing the wrong.
Yeah, you just got swaps, yeah, I got
Swap
you.
the cords.
No, you really can just go into the
Yeah.
display on the Windows desktop and swap 2 for 1.
I like
That's
it,
your primary.
but at the same time, it's like, the biggest need is backup. Plus, with them getting into Scrum, like, I kind of nuzzled in it really well, because it's kind of like a caretaker position. Not quite a babysitter, but it's the fact that, yeah, but kind of, but the main 2 things is facilitating and like making sure that, you know, they're not getting bombarded and like they know what they need to do. And I'm like translating from,
You're a lead.
Staying busy like everybody
yeah,
else.
from the client to that, I'm translating twice, I'm translating from like business to code and to Spanish. Because they're all Spanish speakers. I mean, most of our meetings are in Spanish, because obviously
Average
code is in
probably
English.
15
But, so it's like a double translation, and they got to a point where it was this kind of chuckle, like, you really get a product better than our phones. But they got to the point where we're like, okay, they want to close it, they're gonna close it, but they're wanting like a bunch of shit, I'm like, your CEO's closing the project, he can only do so much of the deadline he gave us.
Yeah.
What are the priorities? These are his priorities. We need to do these. Now, we can probably get some of these done in the last 2 weeks that we're like cleaning up and making sure the data is correct and all that, but like, there's only so much we can do. We still have a list of backlog that we haven't even gotten to, but your CEO's not making money because he can't sell it yet, even though, what have we been doing for a year and a half? You're giving us the priorities. If you're not talking to the CEO about what the priorities are, there's nothing we can
Oh,
do.
I know, it's your full screen.
Yeah, I was in conversation.
And the funny thing is, the week before they met with him, which was Synapse, the day after Synapse, we were supposed to meet with our quarterly meeting, you know, just say, just like that. On track with what they're doing, you know, what they're asking for. We're a little behind with the data just because it's not perfect. It's government data. What do you want us to do about it, you know? And we ended up meeting with them and he was just like, you have till the end of March to meet these deadlines and we had made.
Hey guys, you're too far forward. One more. One more. You're not in here. One more now. One more now.
Yeah, wrong class, guys. You're close.
Well, they're my students, so they were like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love it. They're like, we see her, we're over here.
Like, I hear her voice.
So, yeah, so I was like, you know, to do all of these in the next month, and we haven't talked about any of these deliverables. I think there was one, a report we were supposed to do. We already knew we had to do it, but all the other ones were like brand new that we had never even heard of. And we're like, so that got us pissed off, and I told us, okay, we're going to take this one.
Thanks.
Thank God I wasn't there, because I don't have a book.
Yeah.
If I didn't send it,
Yeah.
my face would have said it.
Yeah. Maybe there.
Chuck said he had a, because Chuck was really angry. He said it took a lot out of me to not throw the project owner under the bus, because obviously they were having lack of communication. And he was.
So what are you looking for now?
Like, sorry, your search? Not officially. I have some job titles that I've gotten from friends or networking that know that they're looking from. And I think I want to stay in strong. Skip did introduce me to someone that kind of did the non-traditional way into tech and like Scrum and project managing. I've done a whole bunch of positions.
Things off my computer.
Yeah, right. I hear you.
And I don't know, like I didn't mind taking on those project managing tasks because I kind of had to. The project owner wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to go into project managing. I think I would like the strong master tasks and what I feel like that caretaker in me.
No, please come.
Well, like I said, it's
You're perfect. What's starts at one?
QA.
Who knows? It might be me and you.
It's okay, I'll take that.
So business admin was like a really popular one when we were in school. Never understood what it was. I mean, but I didn't understand Scrum Master till Skip kind of threw me in it. And I was like, oh,
That's a
okay.
big term, right, like everybody's different. And a lot of them feel different.
Well, I liked how you, yeah, yeah, doing that. Well, and I liked what you showed about like finding different type of answers. Just because they don't call it a Scrum Master doesn't mean I don't follow the tasks. What the list is, yeah. Yeah, I got that answer.
Hi, friend. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit here, 'cause I actually told you to go, someone else to make sure she doesn't have any issues.
Okay.
Now you're.
No, I'm working, I know.
Oh.
I was trying to get off of it. No, he's been here without a break for like all day. So I was like, you want to go before starting? He already has you set up, right?
Yep, I'm good. I can run myself. Come on in, join us.
I'm sorry.
I want to talk to you about what's kind of going on. Back to the part of it. Well, thank you for being here. You're welcome. Have a good Welcome. So you might be a small intimate group, and that's fine.
It's not really surprising because people largely often think that cybersecurity isn't something we should be talking about in schools. We shouldn't talk about it until we're adults. But the Department of Defense strongly disagrees. And they have spent hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on fixing it. And I'm actually pretty disappointed with how successful that is. They're changing. They're changing the way they're doing things. So I'm gonna probably take 3 minutes to wait for people to show up some more, but I'm gonna ask you guys just so I know who you are, what your interests are in, so that I can kind of tailor this presentation to you. So what is your name, sir?
My name's Nick.
Nick, and what do you do?
DevSecOps.
Awesome. What made you think I want to be part of this session?
IoT, I'm assuming it has something to do with this, so yeah, I think that's a very vulnerable point for a lot of people.
100%. You, sir?
My name's John. I'm in the sales department at Verizon.
Very cool.
But I'm studying cybersecurity and but yeah, 15 years of Verizon is time for change, and I came to high school, so I'm trying to soak it in.
100%. Learning some different ways that you can get involved. Awesome. You, sir?
I'm just learning, trying to learn as much as I can.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Jay. I just graduated USC in August, and I got my OCP and just trying to get a job.
Trying to get a job, right? In the back.
My name is Bob. I'm not a cybersecurity user. I saw the title, figured I might apply. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're 100% correct. So let's talk a little bit about who I am and how I came to be this person and why the Department of Defense decided to talk to me about it. Because it's pretty weird. Guess how much training I have in computer science?
0.
0. Guess how many classes I've ever taken in digital security? 0. Not a single one. What I am is actually an educator. I am a trained educator. I'm an English trained educator. I got my master's in teaching. I ended up taking a job as a tech integration specialist. So if we talk about the words tech integration specialist, what that really means is how do we make all of this technology work in schools, okay? I started teaching before the internet was really a thing in school. I started teaching in 2002, and by the time I was teaching in a school program in 2006, we already knew we were woefully behind. I had just moved from South Korea. My husband at that time was a intelligence analyst for the United States Air Force. He went to the United States Air Force Academy. He went to weapons school, to the top 1% of intelligence officers in the entire world. And when we started talking about school systems, you can talk to me later, best friend. When we started talking about what was going on in schools, he said, "Brady, that's scary. That's scary." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Y'all are bringing in all of this educational technology into schools. Who's vetting that this is, who's vetting who it's owned by? Who's vetting where that data goes? Who is vetting who's got access to these children's information?" Because the reality is the most valuable digital identity that exists is a child's. Because you can own it before they're ever 18 and ever run into a roadblock that their digital identity has been compromised. So I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, so I started vetting the technology that came into our school system, and I started saying no. I started saying, we need to know more about this company first. Wait a minute, how does this work? Why is it free? This is a question. Then in 2008, the Department of Defense gave funding to do, like, now it's Fitbit, but it was basically the smart pedometers that would tell how you worked out. And my husband said, absolutely not. There is no way I am going to wear a device on my wrist that tracks how I run, where I run. And he was like, because I'm fat and I don't want y'all to know how unhealthy I am. But he was like, but in reality, it's because that can be hacked. He was right. That app eventually became a piece of technology, similar to Map My Run, which we all know, a 17-year-old was able to identify every single top secret military base in the world. Places that people were not admitting existed. A simple app on a cell phone device was giving that information away. The Department of Defense recognizes very quickly that the way we are teaching security to youth about protect your digital identity, be afraid of it, is not good. The fact that we teach it through robotics and robotics programs pretty much only is not good. The fact that we do programs where it's block-based coding for languages for such a long time is not good. But how do we get around those systems? So a few years ago, the Department of Defense contacted me because I'm a very well-known educator in secondary education specialist. So we need to work on this. And so that's what we did. We built my company, Scoutlier. You might recognize that word as scouting outliers. We're looking for people that want to make a difference and recognize there might be a problem. So what the Cyber Smart Cities curriculum is about is recognizing that our next wars will likely not be pew pew. They're going to be, just turn your power grid off. Turn your water grid off. Turn off your communication systems. Make people not trust your transportation systems. If you can systematically make a group of people through whatever means necessary, not trust their government and not trust the infrastructure in these systems, you have won the war before you ever fired a shot. And when we really think about it, if we look back in the last 20 years, when we set our manufacturing overseas, we sent all of it overseas. We sent manufacturing of automated systems overseas. Our chip design overseas. Our coding overseas. We won World War II because the innovation that was here in America. We're not going to win World War III because we've driven our innovation overseas. In fact, we have let our education programs become things that are magical. They are built by a very well-known company out of Denmark. They're fun-shaped little blocks, and you put them together, and they make really cool buildings. You can make cool robots out of them. But when you look at them, that robot is fully encased in plastic. How do you know how these systems work? You don't. You put in a code, you use a picture-based coding, made it do a thing to win points in a competition. You didn't make it solve infrastructure systems. So what the Department of Defense is recognizing is we are going to have to take back critical infrastructure systems. We are going to have to, from a very young age, teach children that security matters, that manufacturing matters, that coding matters. And we're seeing that change worldwide. So what we're going to do over the next few minutes is actually discuss how infrastructure systems are at risk, why they're at risk, why it is a problem that every one of us needs to solve, why cybersecurity is not the icing on the cake at the end. It is actually the first step of developing any solution, and how the Department of Defense and education and organizations, industries, nonprofits, universities, all need to be working together in a convergence education model to solve that problem. So first, before we really get deep into that, let's talk about why this is happening. There's a spectrum of issues in the IoT world. We've already talked about the Strava hack. Everybody knows what IoT is, right? Internet of Things. We know we're adults, children don't. They think it's amazing. Do not sing the song, I will walk out. Because a child knows at home they can say, hey Alexa, play Baby Shark. Kid is super excited that there is a microphone on at all times, listening to what they are saying. Mom likes it because kid doesn't have to ask me, play Baby Shark one more damn time. Right?
So we give our security away because it's easier. I'm gonna put a Ring camera on my front door. I might even sign up to let it be part of a huge ring of cameras to fight crime. What you've actually done is given away your security. People are 100% able to track your movements from the moment you get up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep. They can identify your entire life patterns. If you're a military member, this puts you at great risk. It puts your family at great risk. It puts everybody in America actually at great risk when we do not secure these issues. But we don't talk to kids about ethical issues, and we certainly don't talk to parents about these ethical issues. We just say, hey, it's commercial. If you want to be secure, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. Except for those IoT devices that we bring into our workplaces, create insecurities for our workplaces. These are issues we need to be talking about. So let's talk about what has happened. If we actually look at IoT devices, I'm going to go back to that one slide because I forgot the dates already. Okay, our first IoT big one was Fitbit in 2009. I need you to pay attention to these numbers, all right? 2009, the first really well-known IoT device, 2009. 2011, the Nest thermostat. I think it came out of like Home Depot, did it first. I think the first time I saw it was there. The Echo in 2014, our Ring camera in 2015. This is when we gave all of our security away as Americans to anybody who wanted to bother to look. 2015. Everybody got that number in your head? 2015. Pay attention. In 2015, UCLA was hacked. Their education system was hacked. That means they have access to all of those student social security numbers. All that is gone. In 2018, K-12 education is hacked. Now they're going younger. Why are they going younger? Because the most valuable is a child. Pearson Education, the testing for every single program of certification goes through these major testing organizations. Now they even know if you've got the certifications. Are you a possible person to be watching? We have found continually, ever since we shut down for COVID, if you are a teacher, you know this is happening, you do not know why, but every single time grades are due on report cards, every time, these systems get DDoS attacked. Why? It could be they're pulling the data. It could be to make educators frustrated, to create a sense of distrust, push teachers out, create an automated system of learning where we are able to really manipulate children's education, turn down that innovative education, turn up rote learning, multiple choice learning, which is exactly what's happening. If you are in education, you see it over and over again. And as someone who has worked in education and innovation, and as someone who has worked right next to intelligence for 23 years, that should be frightening. And they started with education 2015. Our financial systems, 2014, right? All of our systems, debit cards, 2014, we were still writing checks, we were still carrying cash in our pockets. We used a couple credit cards, we didn't have wallets full of credit cards. We had Bank of America, one of the first people to invent the ATM. They decided to do cybersecurity, the security period, at the end. So we're gonna do a little interactive game here. When you go to ATM, tell me what to do in 5 steps. What's the first step? You go to ATM, what do you do?
Put your shoulder, make sure nobody's.
Okay. You, sir, what do we do? You put your card in there. Good. Step 2, what do we do? Type in your code. Good. Step 3, what do you do? Select your account. What are you going to do? Awesome. Step 4, what do you do? Tell what amount you want. Step 5, what do you do? Take the money, and then you leave. That's exactly what happened. But what did they leave in the machine? The card. They left the machine with the card, and the engineers were the people solving the problem. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it, Bank of America. We know that was an expensive mistake. People like, stole those cards, created all this cybercrime. That was a problem. Don't worry, guys. We can program that system to suck the card back in the machine. Problem solved. Engineer made some more money. By the way, these mistakes added to $580 million in the end. Cool, cards back in the machine. Awesome. What's the problem? You now don't have your card, and you know what criminals know? That machine's got money and cards. They literally went and put chains around the ATM machine and drove off. Got all the cards, all the cash. The engineer says, we can solve the problem. We'll put an industrial shredder in there. Cha-ching! They get another $100 million. Redesign the ATM, put that machine in there, shred the cards. Now, you left your card there for 13 seconds. It scanned it back in. It just shredded your card. How are you feeling? Oh, what do you mean I can't have the card for 7 days? What do engineers do? Don't worry, we can make that process so much faster. We'll put in every single bank a machine that will automatically make a credit card in about 2 minutes. How long did it take for someone to make a system that could do that anywhere? About a week later, people could replicate the credit card machine. That was not smart. All right, they keep going, they keep going. They used $580 million to not solve this problem before someone said, hey, so step 5 is take the money, right? What if you can't take the money until you take your card? Your bank does it now, 20 years later. After people died, you had people going to refill the machines because the shredder took up so much space and got killed at the ATM machine. $580 million. Also, we invented the way that credit card scams now exist. We invented these and they get taken over because we don't think of security from the first step we're solving the problem. Cybersecurity, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care if you have cybersecurity grades, I could care less. Because I don't actually want a bunch of cybersecurity analysts. I want inventors that are security minded from the beginning, and that's what the DoD wants too. 2014. Transportation systems, 2016, 2019, there's a lot more. I don't want you to be too scared you won't get on a bus or a plane. Healthcare systems, this one scares the crap out of me. Because it started with the Fitbit app. About 7 years ago, they wanted to implant chips in our soldiers' arms to give bio readings. So my husband was like, absolutely not. That is 100% going to get attacked, and drones are going to be dropping missiles on us. What is wrong with you? But we do it to our children. We put smartwatches on them. We put an Apple tag on their backpack and say, please track everywhere my child goes. That's a concern. We've already proven that we can hack into diabetes systems, the pacemaker systems. They're all completely hackable. Think about how many people, especially older people, that might work in government, that make important decisions, that you can just hack into a system, turn on their life-saving device. It should have been made in-house. The software development, the hardware development, the chips should have all happened. Water attacks. Thank God for Oldsmar. Okay, like for real, the first and only water program that actually said, hey, we got hacked. Only one. I'm not saying Houston's water system got hacked because I'm not in intelligence and I can't legally say that. But when your system goes down, backup system goes down. Your third backup system goes down, all at the exact same time. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't even take someone with any particularly good cybersecurity analyst to say, hey, I wonder if that's a hack. Maybe. and then our energy power grid. All you have to do is hack in at the cyber chip area, turn down your transmission systems, and you can turn our country off. All you have to do is use our social media to divide the country to where nobody trusts each other. Nobody trusts their education system. Everybody is out for themselves, independently, working in silos to destroy the security of the country. So, is there a solution? There's so many solutions. There's so many solutions. Is buying the best solution? Absolutely not. But I actually care. I care so much when a very big, company offered to buy our company several years ago for a decent amount. I said, no, thank you. And I continued to stay funded by the Department of Defense and STEM and the National Science Foundation, and I pay myself less than a Florida teacher. By the way, that's right. As the CEO of the country. Why? Because someone else will come and turn off our systems, because it's not necessarily the mission they want to have. But what we do with our cybersecurity, and what I'm asking you to do, is if you work in the cybersecurity industry, if you are a person that believes these kind of things need to happen, if you have a child of your own, if you are buying presents for your kids, your nieces, your nephews, whoever, and you are thinking about STEM, be very mindful of what you are buying. If you are buying a piece of technology and it's completely covered in solid plastic, where they cannot see what is going on, don't buy it. Because what you're doing is teaching them to have pure security from the very beginning. What we did is we worked with an engineer within a DoD organization. Can't say where she works. But she helped us really look at how the basis of automation works. And what we used was a US-friendly company, an organization out of the BBC that helped develop a program called the Microchip. Very, very simple, very, very easy piece of technology. This guy's $30. He's got about 16 sensors on the back, and guess what? They're all perfectly labeled. You can go online and you can see everything this does. There's no magic. It's about actually understanding how it works. Then what we did is we went and found those examples packs that I just showed you. We actually started building curriculum around it, talking about how this happened, and then having students think. Imagine that. Don't take another multiple choice test. Don't watch another PowerPoint on why cybersecurity is important and be able to answer that multiple choice question. Actually think about it innovatively. And we put all those pieces together in a little kit. We worked with a company, little company, Autodesk. They're small, but I know what companies. Nobody knows what people are. Tinkercad, that's just a kid's toy. No engineers use Tinkercad to ideate what they're doing before they go put it into a big level, big concept piece one. So we put our entire programs into Tinkercad, and we built all the simulations so that students could study those hacks, how it happened, at the component level, what could be done, then actually hand them the components on a software that is free. ScoutWire is 100% free. Connected to Tinkercad, which is also 100% free, to begin talking about how, as a very young age, you can begin to understand how this works together. So as our youth, and you are all still young, we're living longer. I'm 45. I just turned 45. I got a whole other lifetime to make a difference in the world. So what we are doing is building a cyber smart city network. We are launching, you are the first people to ever see this. You know how I know? Because we put it together this morning. We actually picked up, the box came in last week. Woohoo, thank you, Jesus. And we printed out the thing at Walgreens and cut it and hold it in here to fit it so that you can physically see it. On April 6th, we are doing our soft launch. We're going to be at University Mall, that really weird mall just down the street. If you go down Fowler, you look to the right, you're like, what is going on? If you walk in there even more, you're saying, what is going on? Because half the mall is dead, because we have changed how we shop. But inside of that mall, there's this amazing place called AMROC, the Advanced Manufacturing Robotics Center of Tampa. They are run by a nonprofit institute called Foundation of Community Driven, FCDI, the Foundation of Community Driven Innovation. And what we do is put together the pieces so all of us can come together and talk about what's happening. April 6th is our first ever Cyber Smart World event. This is a Tampa-based event. We're very purposeful when we built our panel, because if you look around the room, gentlemen, my good friend, and a volunteer, the majority of cyber security analysts look just like you. We need every person to realize security is important. So what we did is we brought in a large panel of people that are coming in to talk about how cybersecurity works in all fields. And actually how cybersecurity, being security minded, helps you not only get great jobs in cybersecurity, but helps you level up into running your own companies, doing your own vision for what security looks like. So on April 6th, this group of people is going to come into University Mall, just right down the road, and they're going to talk with a group of 50 students from Hillsborough County Public Schools. And we're going to give them these Cyber Smart kits. And they're going to begin doing the challenge. It's going to be a very small scale hacker event. That way, if anything goes wrong with the kit, we can fix it. Here, to be honest, how stuff works. What we're doing is offering up what we've done for Tampa to any city. Anyone who wants to do that. We'll give you our playbook, because it's not about making a lot of money. It's about making a safe, secure place for us to live. The way we do this is we work with individuals. My company is a for-profit company, because I got to be able to make a sale so that we can keep the lights on as, you know, more server space gets taken up. But through SCDI and through the Awesome Legal Research, your companies can do a 501c3 donation and actually become part of the Cyber City and Cyber World and Cyber Universe curriculum. You can be the people that talk about why this is important. Because I am quite passionate, and I'm a pretty decent speaker. Kids like me, you know, I mean, we've taught for 20, 30 years, I know how to work with them. But I don't want them to learn from me. I want them to learn from you. I want them to learn from your companies. I want them at a very early age to know that there are jobs available for them if they get the skills. I want them to have the opportunity to explore this. So that's what we do. So if you are interested in any way, shape, or form, you want to be a judge for a Cyber Smart event, you want to be a mentor virtually, that's totally fine. They do it all the time. Contact us. That is a QR code. There are also things on the front that you're welcome to take. And we would love to highlight the work you're doing. We'd love to get you involved. Because we strongly believe that if we continue to work in silos, we're going to have a very big problem. We already have a big problem. We're not talking about it. And we would like to. Are there any questions? Nothing? Not a word? Not like how to get involved? You want to look at it? You want to play with it?
In this area, or you guys?
No, so when you do a grant funding, when you do a research-based grant funding, the way you do this is you get the federal government to write you a check, which is always nice. They funded the kits, but now that the kits exist, the curriculum is all going to be available live on Scoutwire forever, for free. So it can be done anywhere, literally done anywhere. There's nothing proprietary in this kit. You could like go get the picture and order all these from DigiKey yourself and bring your own kit home. I did that on purpose. I wanted you to be able to replicate it. It was not about gatekeeping, siloing. It was about talking about why it doesn't matter. When we talk about recognition that every single one of these is at risk, what is that? What are your thoughts?
Are you teaching the students how to replicate these types of attacks?
We're not replicating the attacks, we're replicating the fix. So So when we talk about the boil issue in Houston, we talk about you can't turn the water back on until you can get the temperature high enough, and your chemical sensors can tell you that the water is clean. So they actually get the components out of here, a green LED, a temperature sensor, a motor, and the fan, and they put it in a thing of water, and when they get it to a certain temperature, they put a pool stick in there, get the right color to show up, push the button, it's good to go, the green light turns on, the motor turns on to replicate pumps or sending water. What's this one? Yeah, just, I mean, like, it's not supposed to be super, super complicated, it's supposed to get kids thinking.
But you're also not.
I'm really tired of spending $10,000 to build a robot that can play basketball. Sorry, I don't care. It's true. I'll pay millions of dollars to go watch LeBron James play basketball. Not really, I don't even like basketball, but we don't play robots we don't build robots to play football. So that's my sport. So that was a great question. Any other questions?
Please make sure you take some of the hand wash pants here as well. And pass them on to folks that you work with. They get exposed to it. Everybody has to have share information. So you guys are the best sharer. So we're going to do a panel discussion and about and we're going to talk things about these recruiters. They're going to talk about things recruiters look at for resumes, things that you don't want to have on your resume. The hard questions of how do I ask about money? All those great things.
Or your own skills, if you're like, you know what, you need to look, I knew how to solder, and I knew how to put this stuff together.
Yeah, right across the way, you go down the stairs, you outside. Yep, go outside, you go downstairs, you see the big sign pointing that way, the arrows, just follow the arrows around.
It is so fun. We've got, right next door is our STEM space. Hey, I know this is our, there are modeling programs like the modeling.
Oh, like a job fair.
So what we're trying to
talk about, like, so you mean someone who's looking at.
Like a job fair.
And so I would absolutely love to talk to someone about what drug modeling is.
So we just started second year doing resumes. So we took a look at last year and saw about it. And so here's what we're expanding that. So every year we try to add one.
If we're not getting college level kids in
But I did see that.
how is getting it to high school students going to really?
Just trying to share information. And
Did you go ask in the exhibit hall? You should go talk to those booths and ask them, are you hiring? Because I know Guide Point's
I don't
hiring.
need, I'm working.
Oh.
I'm hiring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that might be something we'll look at.
And I'm always looking at like recent public grad.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of people that do the same thing, that's why I'm trying to tell you. Network is, the next time I say all the time. But that's what I did with my.
Well, what's your name so we can connect on LinkedIn? Because, I mean, at the very least, you could have been a resume reviewer for us.
When I say really think we just got funded to start our next set. So you email us and that thing, and be like, hey, this is what I do. I want to be involved. Because that's the deal. Because if not, we're gonna like research it. We're gonna find it. We're gonna be able to answer all the
Yeah,
questions.
so at the very least, I mean, because I put a call out on my LinkedIn for resume reviewers, and that would have given you like, I mean, there wasn't a recruiter in there that wasn't like, take my phone number, send me your email, so.
And they love it too, because they get candidates just by doing a review.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they,
Yeah, I didn't know this was
audience
already
going right to them,
going.
yeah.
I wasn't sure it was gonna attend. It's awesome.
Everybody else.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we appreciate you, man. All right.
He's over there working.
Oh, I know.
Running at first, like, she's great.
She enjoys it. I definitely need help, so there we go with help.
She must be great, she must be good too. She likes that, her thing.
I have been over there already trying to get into that's what we wanted to run those rooms.
Hey,
Hey. We had 6 stations. Because we knew the line was gonna wrap, which is why we tried to get that out of the way over there. So all that people didn't know it was wrapping.
I was helping out over there. Oh, it's great to see you.
Yeah.
I was just hanging out over. We didn't say that. I invited that one over there.
Yeah, I totally fucking prepared it. And I like wrote a 17-page script.
That's like, it should be like earlier in the day, you know, just like, hey, like, do you want to continue to go there? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then like, I just sent her an email yesterday, like, I filled out my questions and answers. For
Wow.
my interview.
Did you?
Yeah. Because I hate
Yeah, I know.
So I was just
But
like.
why have you been doing it so long? I think we should do each other.
Okay.
You want to see if he'll let us do that?
Sure.
Did you write down, are you going to stick to your script?
I mean,
Where did you get those job descriptions?
I see. I think he was pulled them off the internet.
He did? I could have given him.
Yeah.
He never knew that though? So why didn't you put it job description? That's hilarious.
But so like I sent that over to her last week. And
I believe
this
they
morning
pulled
she
up
was
job
like,
descriptions, I don't know actually
kid
who
fell.
did that, but they got like a
We
little
should
job.
make, put
Yeah,
all
like
kinds
not
of
your
pictures
job, she would be.
and then put them on LinkedIn and be like, hey Shandy. And they can't see her, but she's in the back. Tag her. Yeah, I'll be like, thanks for coming,
Yeah, she's
Shandy.
totally there.
Well, and you can, I mean, it's the end of that time.
Well, it's nice of you to come on Saturday.
How do you handle this?
It was.
You just read an interview recently. You got a question at interview, you can ask it.
Yeah.
I would ask.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. To just like.
I don't think I'm here for
3
that.
hours during the workday.
Right.
To not be at work.
Yeah, right, I know.
So like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Saturday, I thought it was early in the day. I was like, oh shit. Let's put that there today.
Yeah. Sucks. Well, I had to be in the office at 9, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just figure it out.
Was that, so was that for the, just transition?
No, something else, if you can, Jacob's tampon. Yeah.
They will fix this.
Yeah, which is okay, but it's just, I think it's old after a while.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the next couple months shape out.
I got that much though, and I'm trying to get my agreement out.
Yeah, so an interview back.
And like,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, yeah. You didn't like it?
I did, it was just, we brought in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's your answer to the question.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about ops, like you see like all the deliverables for all the contracts, or all the risk funding, or all the, run up funding, and the compliance and the contracts, and you got, procurements, I mean, you see that whole thing, which is nice, because
It's 5 minutes too long for an interview question, and I said, well, okay, ask me a question, she asked me, and I put the time. And I started answering.
so you transition it really early, and that's the whole thing,
Start
like,
out.
and get here, I'm like, I don't fucking know, I just,
Yeah,
I find where people are having problems, and then I fix them. The team, so we don't have them together.
What is he like going on? Yeah.
I mean, this.
So, I mean, you're literally 2 minutes, and like 2 minutes is a stretch. Answer the question.
These big companies are like.
Hey, Suzanne. So they basically want to be able to, if this happened in a scenario, how they can react, how they can handle it.
Bash. Yeah, bash.
Actually, never
He was
had
actually here,
He
he came to my talk.
I've never been bashing.
Would that be a bad thing?
Yeah, he was here.
Well, he and
Yeah, he was so sick, he brought his like little tags to lunch. He was going to probably.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I know, Yeah. He didn't.
But I think for their preventative measures, there's potential risk for it.
How you doing over there?
See,
It looks like your mom.
So you can remember that.
17. Ooh. Junior high school. Yeah. My son and I. He won't also.
All right, guys, so we're going to crank up this panel. It's going to be a very casual panel. All these wonderful folks here are in the recruiting field. There's so many people out. And I'm going to pose some questions, let them respond, and then we'll get to the point where you chime in. Some type of question like you were talking about. What do you do if you encounter this? Because that's what it's all about. Just trying to learn across the board skills you can take into the next interview. All right, so the first one I'm going to put out is how to work with a recruiter and use them for your benefit. So I'll let you start off.
All right, so is anyone in my presentation today? Yeah, so there are a couple different benefits of working with a recruiting firm. So they are normally going to get opportunities that you may not have direct access to. You may be seeing job postings, for instance, let's say Microsoft all over the internet, but let's say you've submitted your resume and you're not getting any bites back. That's typically because large companies like that pay for a staffing firm to do all of the grunt work on the front end. So you're really not maximizing your opportunity if you don't take the advantage of partnering with a recruiter and building that relationship. Because what they can do is go directly to that hiring manager for that specific job and say, hey, I have a candidate that has X, Y, and Z, the top 3 skills that you're looking for. They are phenomenal at communication, leadership, X, Y, Z for your culture fit. Here's why you should interview them. So really being an advocate on the back end. Now I know some of you have probably maybe had bad experiences with recruiters, but I would just say really just as much as they are vetting you, vet them on the back end too. If they're not willing to build a connection with you, if it's pretty transactional, then they're probably not going to be the best fit for you, and that's okay. Not everybody is. But a lot of us here do care about helping you, and our passion is in connecting you with the right opportunity because we know how much your career matters in your life. It's one of the biggest decisions that you make. So finding someone who's actually passionate about helping people will really benefit you. Then also just having a little bit of grace with people, So really finding that person that you can connect with, it can really benefit you on the back end with the client because they can advocate for you in ways that you can't do based off of your resume.
Suzanne?
Yeah, so I am actually not a recruiter, so I think I'll go there. So I run a computer coach, right? So we teach IT certification, tech boot camps, but with that, we have an entire job placement department, and we work a lot with recruiters for our students, and we
promote a lot for our students to work with recruiters. And I think what I would add to that is, there's different size recruiting firms, and there's recruiting firms that specialize in certain areas within IT. And you really need to know, like, if you're talking to an overseas recruiting firm, for example, they're not stateside, they're probably going to ghost you if you're not a fit. That's just what happens in the industry. But if you're talking to somebody that is at a small firm, they have an office here in Tampa, you could physically go to their office maybe, you could meet them out and about. You're going to be able to actually get a better rapport and build a better relationship, right? It's really hard to ghost your friends. And that is where we have found the most success in working with recruiters. If you can build a relationship with them, they're going to get back to you. And also the candidates too, you shouldn't be ghosting recruiters. I don't want to make it seem like only recruiters are ghosting.
Very true.
The candidates are just as guilty, and that's really hard from the recruiting standpoint, right? And the other thing I would add on is, look, you need to understand, it is never a bad idea to be connected to a well-connected recruiter. These people talk to companies all day long that are hiring for the jobs that you want. And maybe they run into a company, they just met you, and they're like, you know what? Joe's a great fit for a cybersecurity analyst level 1. And Microsoft doesn't want to pay the recruiter for a level 1, but they want to pay the recruiter to find a level 5. But they can say, hey, you know what, talk to Joe. He's going to fill your level 1, and you don't have to give me a referral fee, right? And then so you can actually find jobs that way that they know about that you will never find. So remember, recruiters talk to businesses all the time.
Layla?
No, that's a great one. I love what you said right there. I would definitely say for the people coming in to a new company, do your research, right? There are so much information out here. If you're looking for a cybersecurity role, know what type of cybersecurity role, right? Know the company that you're going after. If you're going to go to Microsoft, what about Microsoft School, right? I would then look on LinkedIn. Who are the recruiters in those companies? Start to network that. Staffing agencies, I think that's a great idea. Just know that staffing agencies want to get you that position. But if you're not the right fit for it, they're going to move on, right? So industries that are, I think, staffing agencies that support certain industries is important too, right? So for example, I'm on the government side. I know who our small businesses are. If I was looking for a new position, I would connect with those small businesses. So I can't stress the importance of take advantage of the tools that everyone's been given to find new positions in the recruiting field. When I was looking for a job, I had the Dewey Decimal System in the library. So it was not anything I had. I know. So again, and as hiring a lot of people that I do every day, I do not appreciate when people come to me and they're like, I want a job in cybersecurity. That's like going to Walmart. Know what you want, do your research. And that's what I would say.
Sebastian?
Absolutely, and to back up just a little bit, I would say, as a starting point, know the difference in the type of recruiter that you're dealing with. If it's a staffing agency recruiter, they're really working for you. They're helping you. They're working for themselves at the same point because they're going to get commission on that. If you're connecting with a recruiter at Healthcare Communications, they're filling 15 to 20 different requisitions. They don't care about anything beyond that. They're probably getting hundreds of applicants a day. They're dealing with all those people. So understanding that, some of my recruiters, they're like, yeah, this guy's hitting me up every day. It's like, did you give me a job yet? It's like, I don't work that way. And it's tough. And knowing that difference and knowing which recruiters you really can kind of take advantage of in that regard versus, the other recruiters that, maybe you can't. And that doesn't say that, you shouldn't connect with those, corporate recruiters. That's very valuable if you're targeting something specific. Hey, L3 has these jobs that I'm looking for. I'm going to connect with that recruiter. I'm going to connect with hiring managers. I'm going to connect with other people who have that job in that company. And I'm going to use that entire network to really hone in. And I would also say that, through that networking and communication on the front end, they're really looking at those soft skills too. So that's definitely an opportunity to showcase, hey, I can communicate, I can respond, within a time misspell things. You know, just certain little things that you can just show yourself as a human, and the more you humanize yourself to those individuals, the more they want to help you, the more they want to, you know, bring you onto these teams because they're like, hey, it's a powerful individual, they're going to be glad.
Excellent stuff. And one last piece to add to that. If you put your information out on LinkedIn in the ZipRecruiter, someone's going to find it, right? But it may not be what you're looking for. But don't be rude to them. Be kind and say, hey, look, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but at this current moment, I'm not looking for an opportunity, but please keep me in mind for the future. And that's good, because you didn't put a bitter taste in their mouth. You never burn a bridge that you may have to walk right over, right? And that's how you keep that communication going, because there will come a day where you may have to reach out and say, you know what, you just had downsizing in the company, and I'm in the market now. Do you know anything? Anything, you know. So it's all about time, of course, too. But great stuff. Next question. Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne. Yeah.
I want to say one thing. Recruiters remember. And job seekers, I'm sorry, when you brought that up.
Yeah.
Job seekers, honestly, I love you all, right? I have helped job seekers for 24 years. But you all think that recruiters don't remember. And what you have to remember is Haley is in her position today, but she may leave and go become a corporate talent acquisition professional for L3, and Haley's going to remember how you treated her. She's going to remember. And so you never want to burn that bridge. And recruiters remember, just remember that.
And they talk.
And they talk, well, that's everything, birds with feathers flock together.
Yes,
Haley's best friend's probably recruiting someone. There's a whole underground recruiting association in Tampa called RNG. Yeah, like they literally bounce resumes back and forth all day. Like, I'm telling you, they're gonna be at the bar at happy hour later tonight.
Yes, they will be there.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Yeah,
But,
you have to remember that as a job seeker.
So the next question is, and this is really looking at it from the perspective of you looking at some assembly or something. So what are some red flags recruiters look at, per se, related to someone they may get information on? That's how much stuff.
I would say, you know, going back to that, you know, point that I made of, we're looking at soft skills throughout that process. How do you use it? You know, if you're slow to respond, if, you know, you're doing shorthand or misspelling things, whatever else, you just, you know, are bad at communicating back and forth. And understanding that, you know, there are accountants out there, there are, you know, folks who that's not their number one skill, but it's a basic skill that is needed for, you know, any team that you're going to go into. So, you know, a major red flag is, yeah, you know, being rude or, you know, not communicating or, you know, just even being pushy in some areas where, you know, you shouldn't be. And again, the other way of personality, you know, most recruiters are high on the EQ scale and are, you know, leading, and are, you know, being very empathetic, everything else. But, you know, the more you can do on your end to do that, that's right.
I think for me, spelling errors, number one, after what you've done, if you can't spell certain words, you're out, that shows quality. And then number two, a lot of positions in a short period of time will be a huge red flag for me, or employment gaps. Where were you for 6 years?
So, how frequent?
Go ahead.
Just like how frequent are you saying?
So you mean for like multiple positions?
Yes.
I would say if you have like 6 positions in 2 years, probably too much. Maybe 4 positions within 2 years. I can see internships all day long. Good, you've done 17 internships. But as far as like jobs, what's going on there? And I get it, sometimes you're a contractor, but I'm in that business and if, you know, you're popping jobs every 3 months, something's up.
And a good individual can typically make it 12 months. You know, that should be kind of a minimum. Hey, I want to make this last a year. In a year, you're able to really get a firm understanding of the position. And, you know, that second year, typically, you know, in that first year, like, hey, this is mine. Sorry, do something else. But if you're, you know, 4, 5, 6 months, you're like, I gotta leave. It's like, you're not going to do that.
Statistically, people say a job right now, 18 Same thing for 24 years.
Is it a negative thing to have multiple jobs at the same time?
At the same time?
Yeah.
So do all those jobs apply to what you're applying for? That's the difference. You don't have to put your degree in underwater basket weaving.
on your resume doesn't matter. And that's where I think, so if you have multiple jobs, that's great, you're a hustler. But do all those jobs apply to what you're applying for?
Bill?
I would say one of the biggest red flags, I definitely agree with the communication and spelling, because at the end of the day, like, word highlights, what's spelled wrong. So like, your attention to detail is just not, you're not caring at that point. And I shouldn't care more about your job and your financial future than you do. So the biggest red flag for me is when you're not meeting me halfway. So I'm a recruiter, so I'm going to be inquisitive. I'm going to ask you questions about your life because I need to know what's going to be the best fit for you. I know that in cybersecurity, you want to protect your data, but like me knowing certain information about you is not going to be able to take your identity from you. I'm not going to be able to like steal your life. It's really going to be able to benefit you, to help me understand you, to be able to find a job that's not only a culture fit, but a financial fit, a family fit, like all those different things that are holistic when you're looking to stay somewhere long term. So if I ask you, or if I tell you that I need the month and day of your birthday and the last four of your social, and you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm telling you this is required to get submitted to your job at Microsoft, are you going to give it up? Like, what can I really do with that information, So really understanding, and maybe when you have a conversation with a recruiter, if you just tell them that you're a little hesitant, we are happy to educate you on why you need the information. But if you're not willing to give up certain things that I'm asking, and you're going to be difficult to deal with, I'm not going to be really likely to help you find a job. Because it makes my job harder, and if you're not making it easier on me, then I can't make it easier on you.
Okay, great. Salary. I always like talking about money. So here's the question. How to discuss that conversation of salary for a new position? I'll let you first.
All right, so a lot of times, we are given a budget, right? So it's fair for you to ask, okay, well, what is the budget for the role? But it's also, and then for you to tell me that you want to be submitted at the top of the rate, but don't be upset when I come back to you and say, okay, well, the top of the rate requires X, Y, and Z. 10 years here, 10 years here, 10 years here, you only have 4. So why would you feel that I can submit you at that rate? It's not that I don't want you to make more money, because the more money that you make, the more money that I make. Okay, so let's understand that. I'm going to push for whatever rate is going to be best, but I'm also not going to put myself in a position where I know that you're not the best fit for the role and submit you at the top of the rate to get you into an interview position, and then they're looking at me like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's best to just have that transparent conversation on the front end with your recruiter. Like I said, there's a transparency thing. Like, if you're willing to keep it real with me, I'm going to keep it real with you, and maybe it's not going to be the best fit, maybe we can find you something else.
Suzanne, how do you have that discussion with your students?
Yeah, so I mean, the days of not getting to the salary until the third interview are so long. Right, do you guys remember? That's what I'm saying, the third interview. If you're like, you probably don't realize that's a thing. I think, most hiring organizations that I work with, like Kelly said, they have a budget. So it's okay to say, what is budgeted for this particular role? I think, again, that you hear over and over, do your research, knowing what your market is. Now, when you're doing research, just be aware too, that is that research for the area you're in, or is that, New York City dollars? And so just being real with that. And I think just, practicing the questions, what is budgeted, what is the salary budgeted for this particular role is really important. You have to get comfortable talking.
Is there like a specific website you check salary or market research?
Salary.com?
Yeah, salary.com, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, I would throw that in chat.
Voila. Go ahead, Lena.
So actually, I have a recent example of this. I had an intern for this past year. So she was supporting our department. She did amazing things, only 10 hours a week. And after interning just a couple months ago, she's like, all right, I'm about to graduate. I said, okay, let's talk about your salary. Let's go through this. And she's like, all right, I want $90,000. Oh, that's what I said. You're graduating college next month.
Me too?
She had a 50-50. She was rolling dice.
So here you go. You have a very connected person that's seen many aspects of a large organization, and she's completely priced her out of the market. When I send her resume around to everyone, they're like, how much does she want? 90K, nope, 90K, nope. So be careful what you say, right? To their point, like, do your research, talk to people in the profession, but know that, you know, Seb's senior level and you're just starting. So take that humble time to know that you're starting out. And then once you get into the company, start taking on little things that will get you to where you want to go. But do not, I mean, once you price yourself out, you're out. And, you know, now she's looking at, she's like, I need to go. So over 90,000, now on Monday it's going down to 50,000, but it's too late. So be careful.
And I think it's important to point out why it's too late. Because there's not an employer that wants to necessarily underpay you.
No.
Like, honestly, I don't want you on my team for 50,000 if you want to make 90,000.
Right.
Because the whole time, I'm gonna be sitting here going, oh, but they want to make 90, they're gonna bounce as soon as they get it. So that is, I think the important part for you is to understand why it's so important to do your market research, but then know your number too. What are your financial responsibilities? Are you willing to take less to get in, to then move in 2 years and get to 90? You know, that type.
But in this well, on the fellow, I feel one because this is what my friend, hey guys, she doesn't have much experience, but she's already been in the company, but when it makes sense to see how we make money, we've invested in it.
Yeah.
And that right there commands at least 15 grand from sure. Right, so right now we're committed to 59.
I think the challenge too was that she couldn't articulate what she wanted to do. It was just like, I've been here for a year, I want 90K.
Expectation.
Find me the business. I'm like, well, okay.
Go ahead.
So is there a valid answer to the market and monetary value and just say, an entry-level position said, I'm willing to work for whatever the current market rate is? Is that a valid answer that you have to get?
That's a great point. I mean, a lot of times you want to lead and get them to show their hand first. Right. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of transparency, you know, and I'm trying to get somebody to show their hand first in that side of negotiation. Like, hey, what do you want? And I'm, you know, if somebody says 60 and my budget is 80, I'm going to try to get them to go 72. Like, I'm not just going to go straight to 60 for them. But I know that I don't have to go all the way to the top of the range. But yes, absolutely. Hey, you know, and you should really be guarded initially if you're doing salary negotiation, like initially, just, hey, you know, what is the rate for this? And then really understanding, you know, who am I dealing with? Am I dealing with an agency that, you know, hey, this is my target rate, I want you to shoot as high as you can to this as possible, versus, you know, dealing with a corporate recruiter where what's the budget for this specific position, and knowing that, you know, that's the negotiation for that role at that time, as opposed to kind of having a wider.
So how do you guys so the market is flooding, especially the market, and right? And I have small questions or something. I know he's right, I know he's aggressive. How do you negotiate with him, knowing that if we get him and pay 95, he's worth in another year, and he's going to be 175 years. How do you negotiate that in the best interest of what for the company needs and make that better? You also find the
I mean, specifically for our company, we make it more than just a salary. So we have other initiatives in there where you can make more money working on different projects, and just supporting some of the highest paid customers out there. So, you know, beyond just the salary, you've got, you know, satisfaction with the job, you're, you know, supporting a good mission, you're not just, you know, asking questions on toilets. That's actually, we have a data scientist who, you know, he's like, this is so much cooler than, you know, me asking people like what the dirtiest part of their toilet is, and then like, and putting that, like, there's a big difference. I mean, when you guys think about that as a job seeker, you know, hey, what am I going to be doing? This is 40 hours at least of my life.
But what about schedule? Most of the things are not scheduled. then they're talking.
But they work with like.
But so this is business, right? And that's the first thing we gotta establish that up front. This is not high school, it's not college, this is business. So as you come into my company, it's kind of like I talked to you guys earlier about, what do you bring to the table for me? Because I know what I have for you. So you have to prove yourself to me. That's why sometimes you get 1, 2, 3 interviews to get vetted before we even talk salary. Because I'm not gonna waste my time to even talk money if you ultimately don't meet what I'm looking for. Not saying you're a bad guy, not saying you're not smart, but you may not meet the position I'm looking for at the time.
And Pete, that's a great point. I mean, you want to have an idea up front of, okay, you know, are we talking 60,000 or are we talking, you know, 6 figures? And all right, maybe you're not going hardcore salary negotiation in that first conversation, but you have an idea of, can you afford what I'm looking for? You know, and then absolutely really, that can go to those later discussions as far as like, this is great.
And I think the kid that's worth 105 today and 175 next year, and that's a business decision. Nothing stops me from paying that 175 next year. Once I taught him how to work in my company, I have taught her all of the soft skills that she needs. Nothing holds me back from then paying. You know what? In the market today, a year from now, you are now worth 175,000. But if they're not worth that today in the market, well then, I feel like job seekers need to know exactly what today's market is paying. But just because they seem smart today, and I'm sure you're all
They
brilliant,
could be done.
just doesn't mean that just because they come in and like you see potential, doesn't mean honestly, and this is just the real world, right? It doesn't mean that they're not gonna fall into some trouble within the next 365 days. So why would I pay somebody $175,000 today for a job they're gonna do in a year?
The other thing you gotta look at too, what a lot of companies do, they have a budget. So let's just type that, you say, I have $100,000 budget. I'm looking for a stock analyst. Okay, so I meet a guy, he's perfect person for the job, and he asks, okay, well, what's the salary range? I'll come back and say, okay, well, what are you looking for? So that throws a lot of people off. They get nervous right there, oh man, what am I supposed to say? You come back with what they just said. Well, what type of budget has your company set aside for the position? It's a game of ping pong.
Say about salary, like whether
Could, depending how much they want what you have. See, keep this in mind, folks, and this is forever as long as you work with somebody. The only reason why they're gonna pay you is you got something in them. Period. The minute you lose that skill that they want, you're out. If you improve on that skill that they have and need, they'll pay you more. And a lot of companies will say, okay, I have $100,000 in my budget, but I'm not gonna pay you that much. I'll pay you 85, and then give you a 4% raise within a year. Ultimately move you to that number you want to get to, but at the same time, you've proven yourself. So I know I can do that money, and you're worth it.
And you can be 4% better. It's not just because it's a year. Like, what have you done?
Exactly.
To get better.
So it is a process, and that's why don't get discouraged, especially coming out of the gate, if you don't get the money. I remember when I came out of the military, I worked for a defense contractor, my very first job coming out of the military. And I'll never forget this. They hired me, and I considered being lowball, because I thought I had a lot of experience, I had certs, and it was, but they did me a favor, and I didn't understand until years later. They put me at an average salary, so I could have room to move with them or somewhere else later to go to a bigger salary. And this is something I've always done. You do what you do for yourself. I never take less than $10,000 to $20,000 when I'm going to
That's when you get your largest increase. I mean, unfortunately, you typically just don't see a massive increase within a
Right.
company. You're going to get anywhere from 1 to
And
5.
you may have to move to get it. Don't be afraid to move. Because that's where, if the dollars are what you're looking for, you may have to move to get those dollars. That may mean, for you guys trying to get to the military, to the government round, for the clearance, you may have to take an assignment in Iraq for 1 year to get your clearance started. And you'll get a secret. You can come back, now you have a secret clearance, you can get another job. But you gotta give to get it. You just can't walk in expecting, take care of it. It don't work that way.
Your question?
Yeah, so, I guess you had anything else?
No, go ahead.
You mentioned like not, like having them give the number for us to begin. Should we trust that range to be fully accurate, or like is there typically supposed to be leeway there? If someone comes out like 20% of what we're looking, below what we're looking for, should we sit like just acknowledge like it's gonna work and not that we should move on?
Yeah, that's why understanding who you're speaking with and building that rapport and that relationship is so important. I mean, you know, if it's first conversation and you don't have that level of trust, right? You know, if it's multiple positions versus one specific position, you can probably, you know, expect that one position, yes, that is kind of the set. You know, most people are not trying to bamboozle you, you know, some of them are. You know, so being able to sniff that out a little bit, but a lot of times, yeah, I mean, that it's in their interest to, you know, even go up to that highest, part of the range because they're like, oh, well, this person might need this much. So they'll go all the way, you know, we can go all the way up to, you know, 85, but then coming back to, you've got to meet all those requirements that are going to warrant the time.
So that brings up a good point, which is something I've seen in my career, now that I've done this for a long time, but if you negotiate a super high salary and then you start the job and you need mentorship and constant leadership, watch out, right? So now you price yourself over, now you're not capable of doing the position, you're gonna be like going a couple months. Because if somebody comes in at 80K, when I can be paying my guy 60 and he's doing a great job, but the 60K guy now needs to help out the 85K, you'll stay around, but you're gonna stay around long, so just keep that in mind, right? Know what you can do, know what you can't do.
The other thing I'll add to that is make sure, once you set the number, and you're actually like, you've got to the offer stage, right? And you don't go back and try to get a higher salary. That's I mean, that is like, you did burn the bridge, you just straight up torched it. Yeah. Like, the recruiters do not like that. The employers I deal with, like, we had a number, and now you come back, because you talked to somebody last night and said, oh, you should ask for $80,000, you know, $8,000 more. No, you can't do that. And that's where you have to know what the market, and you have to know your number. Because I think what, you know, especially to what Ethan said, sometimes you have to take a little bit less to be able to make exactly what you want in 5-6 years. You need a 5-year plan. I'm willing to do this today, because in 5 years, I am going to be that $175,000.
And keep in mind, the numbers are relative. So if you're coming from New York, DC, and you're looking for a cyber job with a period behind it, averages, you're going to probably be 95 and above. Why? Cost of living, right? You take that and bring it here, or take it to Alabama, Mississippi, it's not going to be the same. I talked to a friend of mine the other day, and she's trying to come from New York here, and she looks like, they're not paying anything. I was like, well, kind of.
And you go state income tax, you got a
There's no
$50
state
in
tax.
New York.
A loaf of bread is higher in New York than it is here in Tampa. You follow what I'm saying? So a lot of it's relative. I had a lot of friends, I'm gonna go to DC and make $200,000. Go ahead, but you're gonna do a $495 traffic, the weather, all of that combines into what you take home every year, right? Because wear and tear of your vehicle, time on earth. So not all money is good money. Because you may have to sacrifice a lot for that money, you never get a chance to enjoy it. So keep that in mind. Chris?
I think that's a better point. Not where you chase money, but culturally, you have to make sure that company knows you also employed. And having a very strong culture coming up, and I'm talking about big companies, where you're coming in young, you have to look at the value of training. You have to look at the benefits of different pushing, that's good. And then take advantage of the spot. Well, you know, I tell my kids, 2 years, don't jump until 2 years. You do your work, show up, knock it out the park. If you're not seeing any way to grow, then it's not work. But you got to put the time in. One of the points that you made, changing the price or to negotiate. You're going to be labeled as, well, we're going to negotiate next month, we're going to negotiate 6 months from now, you're going to, and then we're not going to hire because we don't have time for that.
And then gonna go to happy hour with my girlfriend, who's also a recruiter, and I'm gonna bitch about you. So now I'm not only gonna torch my career, but you torch theirs too.
Yes.
No,
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
Is it good to undersell you, just if you want that position really bad, just say, hey, I'll take the least amount possible just to get in? Is that?
Well, that's part of looking at the whole job, you know, if it's a remote job, so you're not, you know, paying for gas, wear and tear, everything else. If it's building experience that you really want, you know, absolutely, yeah, I mean, count that as, so my youngest brother, is in a position where he's not making as much as he probably can make. You just think of the experience that you're getting as, you know, filling up an experience. You know, that is the salary that you're, you know, getting right now on top of, you know, your actual money. So absolutely, it's just
But you have to know you. If you're like change resistant, then that's not an okay strategy. And when I say that, like, if you're not the type of person that in that 18-month mark is going to go to a different company, just to like Sebastian said earlier, your biggest money, I guess, improvements are going to come from changing jobs or changing companies. And so if you're the type of person that doesn't want to change companies or you're scared.
All right, so one more question for you guys. This comes down to the importance of career continuity. Go ahead and take a shot down. Why is it important?
Me? Career continuity. So personally, my background. So I lead with talent acquisition recruiting, right? I've been doing it for way too long. But throughout my career, now I'm running operations for a pretty large P&L, overseeing, I don't know, 900 employees. That's it. But what I've carried through my career of 25 years now has always been talent acquisition, talent management, because if you take care of your people will take care of you, and that will follow you throughout your career. So I do believe in career continuity, but I also believe in making sure that you're following the path of success that is meaningful towards you. And you're taking with what you've learned from, you know, ground level, and then you're driving that forward. But again, for me, it's always been taking care of people, right? Like, people in this room I've seen in different places in their career, and I see where they're at now. So it's awesome to see that evolution, because at the end of the day, as you guys go in your career, you're going to be mentors for others. And you're going to lean on mentors to get you where you need to go. So I guess that would be my.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what she said, because one thing about where you're at is that you have to understand is that the relationships that you build in your existing company matter, okay? Because when you want to be able to transfer into a different role, the misconception is like, oh, manager's gonna hate me. A lot of times when you're a really good employee, they're sad to see you go, right? But they also want to see what's best for you when you build that relationship and that connection. So that's what I mean when you're developing those soft skills that we talk about. Like, are you furthering that relationship? Are you watering it? Are you nurturing it? So that when it does take time for you to move, they're able to give you a positive recommendation so that it can propel you in your other avenues. So while career continuity in a certain company may be great, that may be for certain people to be able to climb that ladder, but if you're really looking, you know, to be able to move into different sectors, just nurturing those relationships along the way is going to really benefit you.
I love that, you know, being able to nurture relationships. I believe there's, you know, you have to have your defined career success. That's super important. What does career success mean for you? Because to me, it's going to need to be very different than it's going to need to you. And I think that, you know, yes, you want your career to go on a certain path, but at one point too, if you decide, you know what, the path I've been on isn't for me, don't be scared to change and look into it. And then, you know, look back at those relationships you have and see, okay, well, can I leverage any of these relationships to maybe tweak my career path a little bit, you know, or my transferable skills, you know, what can I transfer in? So I think the most important thing to me is just continuous learning and, you know, making sure that you're just staying up to date.
All great points, for sure. And I was starting with just saying that nobody's going to care about There are certain companies that are going to give you, experience or, opportunities, or things that will help you further your career, but nobody cares about it like you do. You're going to have great bosses, that's, a big part of, your success and your progression. But again, they're not going to care as much as you do. So you having that target, establishing and kind of figuring out what it's going to take to get you there. And then great point too, as far as sometimes you set that target. When I was 18, I was like, I want to do this. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Very different person now, and who I am and what I want to do. So don't be afraid to kind of change that. My wife went back to school, completely changed careers. I was like friends happier now, and it was a step back monetarily, student loans, everything else. But I was just telling you yesterday that I would pay double that, to have her as happy as she is. So focus on yourself. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking of anyway. I was like, yeah, duh.
And that's really, and that's, an old saying, but I mean, happy person, just be happy. And that's difficult, and, there is an amount of stuff that everybody will have to embrace in the professional workplace. There's no utopia where you just go and, there's a, snacks and soda fountains and you're just happy all the time, like, But, getting to that good balance, that, should be the goal and highlighting that. So, again, at the end of the day, really looking inward, to figure out that path as well.
Yeah, in the end, it's all about you. And I'm just being frank and honest. You matter. They kind of do, but not really. Because if they let you go tomorrow, they don't owe you anything. But you can walk away tomorrow, you don't owe them anything. But you want to be kind and let them know you want to walk away. Because you might have to come back, right? And they'll remember that as, oh, he was a great guy, great worker, love to have him come back anytime he wants. Or he left, didn't let us know he was leaving, never had a chance to have him concrete the guy coming behind him. So they have a real bitter taste about you, and I doubt they'll really ever bring you back. But at the same time, if you're in a hostile environment, where you are, I don't care what you're making, and you don't see that benefiting you skill, education, or personal happiness, leave. There's nothing holding the gun to your head to say you have to stay. A lot of people have that misnomer. Oh, well, I don't want to lose my job. Well, you can lose your job anyway. So you don't really control it. But what you do control is if you want to leave, when you leave. So I always tell people, never take your resume on the web. Even if you're in an ideal job right now, leave it out. Why? Because they can downsize tomorrow. But you still got a lot of it.
Except you, Brad. I think there's not.
All right, one last question. I'll let you guys chime in on some questions. This relates to the resume itself. Is it required to have customized resumes for each job you apply for, and how long should the resume be?
Great question. So typically, I don't want to see a resume any more than 2 pages. If you have any experience beyond 10 years, that's not relative. I'm taking it off. Honestly, your hiring manager is really not going to look past the first page unless it's filled with like your objective and your skills, at half a page, and then your most recent experience. But what I'm going to look for in a resume is the keywords, right? That my client is looking for. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So if you work with the technology pretty often and you work really, really hands-on with it, and that's the main stuff they're looking for, you can list it in your resume multiple times. Don't be afraid to overlist things. Now, don't do it, expeditiously, but if you're using it in different capacities, make sure that you're listing it because that matters. I would definitely say tailoring it to job descriptions is beneficial, but that's really where a recruiter comes in. It can help you be able to make those modifications based off a certain job that you're applying for, because it can be very redundant and stressful when you're just blank applying online with a blanket resume, and a lot of times you're not getting chosen because you don't have those specific keywords. So when you have someone that's being that bridge between the client and you, they can really guide you directly on how to modify that resume, so you don't have to have 50 of them saved to your laptop.
Yeah, so there's a lot of parts to that question, right? So do you need to customize your resume for the job description? That depends on how you're applying and who's receiving it. So if you are sending it to a recruiter specifically like Haley, well then you probably don't need to customize it specifically for a job, because you may be having a conversation with Haley about multiple jobs that she may have access to, and then you're gonna have a conversation about how you're gonna customize that resume, once you had the conversation with Haley before it gets submitted. If you are sending it specifically to a talent acquisition professional and, a recruiter inside a corporation, well then I'm assuming you're sending it to them for a specific job, right? So to Sebastian's point, they have 15 recs that they're working, and they want to know, are you qualified for that particular job? Your resume is a marketing piece, and that's really important. Your resume has to sell to whomever's reading it why I want to talk to you, okay? So if it's specifically for a job description that you found, well then yes. If it's, I met you and said, hey, you know what? You said you want to work at the city, my best friend is a recruiter at City, send me a resume and let me send it over, and I'm going to refer you. Well, you don't really have anything that you can customize it to, right? Because I'm just giving my friend a golden referral, and then that's kind of essentially the same as if you talk directly to Haley as a recruiter. I work a lot with applicant tracking systems, and I spent a lot of time studying them, including interviewing developers who create the applicant tracking systems. So to answer your question, how long they should be. If it's going to a person, I believe one page, your margins, it needs to really articulate why you're qualified. If you're going online, if you're doing just a massive, what we call a spray and pray to job searching, then applicant tracking systems don't want to see resumes that are more than 1,000 words. That's essentially 2 pages. After 1,000 words, most applicant tracking systems will do they need to be, if you're applying online, they absolutely need to be customized for the job description. There's no way around it. So I teach a webinar. On Tuesdays, we teach job search strategy webinars live online, free and open to the public, and one of them is specifically how to get class now.
Great, I just learned something. I did not know that
1,000 words.
Yeah. So I think for me, and just having, when I get resumes, 2 pages, I guess is fine. I'm 2,000 words. There you go. And then relevancy, right? If you're a programmer and I see COBOL on your resume and DB2, probably great. I appreciate it, but I'm not looking at that, right? So yeah.
Red flag. Red flag.
Right. And it's relevant to what you're doing too, right? If your certifications flow along with the network administrator position that you're working with, and you tell me that you're a fit for the job that we have posted, I'm going to talk to you. But if you have some stuff in there that I'm like, that's great that you were at Jersey Mike's, like whatever it could be, I'm just going to be like, that's awesome, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to call you, or I'm not going to get you with my recruiter.
So, in point to that then, like, what if that's your first job, you don't really have any other?
That's fine. Highlight what is relevant about my job that you come bring to the table, right? Hey, you have this network administrator where, okay, well, I did some research on help desk or software, like I like Remedy. Like, what is it about that job that you're excited to, right? Because if you're entry level, I want to see your enthusiasm. That you're really, not only that, but you're also like, hey, I saw at Jacobs, you guys posted an article about X, Y, and Z. I have this X, Y, and Z. Things like that that show me that you care, and I'm not just staring at 17 million resumes over and over again, So trying to keep it as relevant as possible for what we have.
And I'm assuming you have projects at school that are relevant. I'm assuming you have volunteer experience. If you don't, you should. I'm assuming you're in associations. I mean, there's a whole lot that a student who's only worked at Jersey Mike. I mean, I could build a whole one-page resume if you've done all the things that I think the career center has probably coached you on since you've done it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else like transition careers? And their resume the work experience doesn't show what they've done in that field that they're going into.
Yeah, and I think some just went this well. I'll go for just real quick, because I was just talking to a guy that was a machine operator that just got a few cybersecurity certs, and he's trying to get into cyber. security business, right? So highlight those certs. Highlight what you've done as a machine operator, right? That's a very specific skill set. Just being from Detroit, I understand what you do, and now you want to transition to cybersecurity. Take those elements of what you did in that role and highlight them so that they can see, oh, well, either his functional or soft skills or whatever we call them were relevant here. Here's some things he accomplished while he was here, and then bring those up, right? Like, don't forget, even though you're transitioning your career, you're still carrying through skills that you're going to push forward. So I would keep some of that in mind. That would be my focus.
And try to add in your passion projects. I'm assuming if you're career changing, you have, things you're working on at home, like how are you practicing these new skills that you're getting, right? What are you doing? Are you going to hackathons? What are you doing? Very important.
Yeah, and so the initial questions, yes, you will customize your resumes. For you in particular, you'll look at the jobs that you want, right? And yes, they're going to have very technical requirements in there, but they'll also have a lot of soft skills. And you can translate some of your previous experience to, fit those requirements in there. And then again, I mean, recruiters were looking for keywords. I always make a joke that, we're a bunch of big dumb animals, just kind of looking for keywords in there. And if we don't see them, but whatever you can do to match that up, to line that up, and, again, going back to my wife, just making a career change, she had a lot of relevant experience in her previous positions that had to do with management, that had to do with teamwork, that she's able to put in there. And so while she's fairly entry level in her, clinical role now, they're looking for leadership positions, management positions, there's opportunity to scale, to use that experience for past jobs, even though it's not necessarily in that specific field. So starting with what job do I want? I mean, it's a huge thing to just understand for yourself. Just blasting the resume out and being like, all right, universe, send me a job. Like, that's never going to work.
Not today.
No, it's just, to your point, the ATSs, to, the keyword searches and recruiters, very targeted, everything is control F, looking for specific things. So you on your side have to be targeted, to start. So understanding, all right, what do I need on my resume to fit this job description, lining that up. And then, I was joking with Layla, I don't like to read. So over two pages, I'm like, all right, I'm bored, I don't want to see this. However, a government position, that could be a 10, 15 page resume because you have to go solid that out. So again, understanding what you're applying for. And then, a software developer, I want to see all of the different projects that you've worked on. I want to see, your technical skills and everything else, whereas a graphic designer, that's going to be very pretty resume.
With a link to the portfolio.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's a great way to showcase, hey, this is some of my, design skills. Sure. This is how I've made this a simple resume for you to read and understand. So knowing that absolutely it's marketing, this is the first thing. A recruiter looks at a resume and in, 10, 15 seconds, you either think, yep, I'm gonna get on the phone with this person, or this isn't gonna be the right resume. So you really have that first page to focus on and make sure you're hitting as much key stuff as possible, and just making sure that.
Cover letter is necessary?
To cover letter or not, that is the question.
I say no.
I say no. I love them.
And some people do. Again, if it's targeted.
It is a job too, like you're saying.
A cover letter out there, blanket for everybody. I don't necessarily like to see that, but I do like to see someone, says, hey, dear Iron Eagle X or whatever company it is, if you know the recruiter that you're submitting to, hey, Sebastian, this is me in a nutshell, cover letter type of thing, to personalize it. Again, that's soft skills, that's, showcasing, hey, I go above and beyond. I'm very interested in this specific position, for sure.
So you need to read the job description. If it says have a cover letter, well, you need to have a cover letter. If it doesn't say you need to have a cover letter, I talk to a lot of employers and, it's tough. Some people love them, some people don't. But I will say bullets on a cover letter are good. So like you could bullet some aspects, like you write a nice little 2 to 3 sentence opening, this is who I am, bullet, so that, because on average, people read 20% of what's on the page. So if you're bulleting, you're making it easier for me to scan.
But for me, because I get so many resumes, if your cover letter is generic and it's dumb, I'm not looking at your resume. So keep that in mind, right?
So there's a time and a place for cover letters too, like if you're career transitioning, cover letters are great. If you have jumped around to a lot of projects for whatever reason, cover letters give you an opportunity to have a chance to explain it. Now, you're at the mercy of the person to read it, but.
And that's what I appreciate cover letters for, just for the element that I hire for, and more senior level, I appreciate a summary, but, yeah.
So, quick tips. So first of all, for the indexing we were talking about. So when the resumes are sent out and the job is sent out, there are certain keywords that you're talking about. And if you don't have those keywords, it's going to fly by you. So what I recommend to a lot of people is use something like Indeed or LinkedIn. Look up the jobs that you know you're looking for, but also that you do. Let's just say you are a network person, right? And you've done networking for many years or whatever. And you go look for a tier 1, tier 2 network job. Look at the verbiage that you see in some of those jobs that are being offered. If you have done that, you can copy and paste that verbiage and put it into your resume. You're not lying. You're just putting the syntax into what they may be looking for, which may get you picked up on that index. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. That's all legit. Don't lie, but sometimes the way you may word things may hurt you from the way you say it. But that's what they're looking for from the recruiting perspective. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to get much closer from what they're saying. Secondly, if you worked at McDonald's and you managed the first shift, that's something you put on your resume because of a few things. You know people, you manage money, and you can quantify that dollar amount. Every month I manage $100,000 in sales, whatever. Those are key things to stand out as well, because people want to know, can you handle and quantify things that you've done? So those are big helps. So don't think that just because you had that as your first job, I'm doomed. You're not doomed. They're looking for, like they said, how excited are you? How willing are you? And I see that you got the basics. I can work with the rest. Now, I'm not going to pay you $9,000, but I can work with you. We can find somewhere maybe in the middle of work. So don't sell yourself short, okay? So use those things to help yourself as much as you can. So by the time we get to these guys, at least it looks a little more formative of what they may be looking for than just, next slide, because you didn't spell it right. I told the class earlier, use Grammarly if you have to.
Yes.
Use Word if you have to help it check your spelling.
This another one is called full writing.
Yeah, I mean, any tool you can find is going to help you look better, because the resume is just going to get you a phone call or interview. It'll never get you a job.
And then the hard work starts. Then you do your hard stuff.
Yes.
As far as disciplining.
Right.
So to find the keywords, a really, like what I think is a more simple way for most people that we coach on all the time, is if you have LinkedIn Premium and you look up the jobs that you're interested in, it tells you the top 10 skills for that job. Okay, so let's say you want a SOC analyst role, right? So you look up SOC analyst, it tells you the top 10 skills. You have LinkedIn Premium, sign up for a 30-day free trial and then cancel it, okay? You look up 10, 15, 20 SOC analyst jobs. You take those 10 skills, you copy and paste the first job, the 10 skills, into an Excel, column 1. The second job, take those 10 skills, column 2. The third job, you get copy those 10 skills, column 3. Sort your Excel spreadsheet. Now you have a list of the skills that 15 SOC analyst jobs said were the top 10 skills, right? Now, if that skill comes up on all 15, 20 jobs, you probably have a good shot that that's a skill that should be on your resume, right? The other thing too is we didn't even talk about LinkedIn, so I'm going to stop on that. But those skills need to be on LinkedIn, because what happens is, have you ever wondered, like, why am I only 1 of 10 skills? I'm not better than that. Why am I only 1 of 10?
because it's literally looking in your skill section, and most people say, oh, the skill section on LinkedIn, that's a set it and forget it, they still have COBOL and stuff in there. And that skill section needs to be set up for the skills and the jobs you want. It needs to match that Excel spreadsheet that you just put together, which is a way of figuring out the keywords. People ask all the time, well, how do I know the keywords? My answer, I'm assuming you're applying for jobs that you qualify for, so you know. But there's a step-by-step for you.
That's good stuff. And
LinkedIn.
do research on LinkedIn, because all these guys use LinkedIn all the time. They also look at your Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, my yes.
I'm just gonna tell you, by law, they can never say I didn't hire you because you were standing on the bar on your Instagram page.
Or we did hire
Or
He's the one to run the run fund.
Or you set up an interview just hitting a bong before you came to the interview.
Yeah,
That happens.
and I tell that to a lot of students because I got it. That's the new hotness. You're out there doing the gram, all those other things. That's great. But also remember, job seekers and employers are looking at you. Because they want to know the character of the person, not only your skill set. You may be the smartest person in the world, but if your character, where we see you doing some crazy stuff on a pole, you probably are not that person they want to sit down and have talking to a company.
Or causing bar fights. I really don't, you're gonna be the jerk.
Yeah. So just keep that in the back of your head.
It's relevant, but when you do get the job, don't do dumb shit on social media either, right? Don't post things, don't maliciously. I have let go at least 5 people this past couple months for things that they want to express their opinion about or get malicious. And it's like, man, I gotta replace them, but just be careful, and you never know who sees what. And that's a whole other thing, right? Your coworker that you got a higher paying position, that might not like you too much, saw this and just switch it over, so.
So the screenshot.
I would be really careful what you guys.
You can't bring it back.
And through the interviewing process also. So I had a customer once who went on LinkedIn and started vetting about how they got through 3 interviews and then the company had ghosted them and they didn't understand, blah, 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 blah. And then he, like, I don't know, like a week had gone by, and he called me up and he's like, hey, Suzanne, he's telling me all about this job. And I'm like, what? No, you posted last week that this company, like, why would they do this? And you literally had like a LinkedIn rant on this. Go take that post down before somebody sees it.
Too late.
So.
It's already out there. Yeah. But it's that little stuff, guys, that sometimes stops you. It's not the big stuff.
Right.
Because they're willing to take a shot on you most of the time. But it's the little things that come back in the hill. And that might have been 4 or 5 years ago when that picture was posted. You got all about it, but they saw it. And we've done it. All right, so what we're going to do now, anyone have any other questions relating to jobs? Go ahead. I'll just share that right with you.
So what's the best way to find and connect with recruiters?
Networking events.
This?
I'm passionate about having a list of companies you want to work for. Where do you want to work? Do you have a company you want to work for?
Me working?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do.
What's the company?
Like what?
Okay, you know how many events ReliaQuest sponsors? Do you know who's at events that ReliaQuest sponsors? ReliaQuest employees. ReliaQuest also has a referral program within the company. So, I mean, you just need to find backdoor approaches to meeting people over there. And then go to those events. ReliaQuest is super active in the tech scene here in Tampa too.
Right.
So,
outside of ReliaQuest, like, cybersecurity in general.
And that's a great point for sure. Networking events, very important to understand. Some people, full-time job, full-time school, everything else, you don't necessarily have time for that. LinkedIn is the #1 tool. We hire probably 60+% of our employees. We find them through LinkedIn, and that's something you can spend 30 minutes a day, ideally more, but 30 minutes a day, looking for the jobs that you want, connecting with people who have them, looking for the companies you want to work for, connecting with recruiters. Any recruiter that's on, most recruiters are just like, you're a person, yep, connected.
And do you agree? Yeah.
And it's huge to send a personalized note as well, so that, one, they know you're not, a bad actor, robot, anything like that. And then 2, kind of get out there, hey, this is why I'm interested in connecting with you. I want to work with ReliaQuest, here in Tampa, give them a little bit, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, it can be a canned message that you send to everybody, and just change the name to, kind of like personalized there. But LinkedIn, and you will be surprised how quickly that happens. It looks like, a big ball of push initially, when you got 0 connections, but once you get a couple connections, it just it all spiders out.
And make sure you're talking with friends and your family and, you know, people in your network where you want to work. People can help you. As long as you know, I think Layla brought it up, like, I can't help a person who doesn't know what they want to do or where they want to work. If I say, hey, what are you looking for? You're like, yeah, a new opportunity. Well, that's a lot for me, you know, and I can't help you. But if you know more specifically, people will help you.
You have a question?
I did, it was about Thursday. I knew that, what if your work experience that's relevant to kind of are y'all looking today or say I want that job in 2014, I got that job in August, the job in 2014 is relevant to the job I'm applying for, but there's a job in between that's not relevant. But if I put it on the resume, now it's one of the things.
So one way, and you asked about targeted resumes earlier, I would say have a targeted resume for that position you're trying to get back to. You used to have objectives at the top of resumes. Now a lot of people will do a summary. You do a summary of your skills there that, all right, it's not listed in that first one or two positions. But if you have that summary, then a recruiter is like, keywords, cool. And they read the whole resume. And they get down into, oh, this is where they have that experience. And then again, peppering that resume with those applicable words as much as you can again. And then don't be afraid to modify. I mean, you can have a job that only has one or two bullets in it, because those are the only ones that are applicable to that position. You don't have to list out everything that you did in that position, just the relevant stuff. And that's where you'll kind of have some customized resumes. You do not need to write a new resume every time you find a new job that you want to apply for. But tweaking it here and there, having version 1 through 11 billion is fine. But yeah, that's good.
You want to ask a question?
So there's a discussion that recruiters tend to employees that would want senior positions and a couple of management roles, experienced employees. You know, I'm doing this field, I'm thinking about a job, and I'm putting the door, so to speak. Is it a worthwhile idea for me to try to get in touch with a recruiter? Is there other recruiters that specializes in entry-level positions or something like that? Should I reach out to the recruiter, or should the recruiter be stuck with me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had mentioned this in my presentation. To be transparent, I don't see a lot of entry-level positions in my specific recruiting field. However, I have multiple people on my LinkedIn that if, you know, let's say we have a conversation and I can put your resume or your name and say, hey, so-and-so is looking for an entry-level position. I have over 10,000 connections. And whoever likes my stuff, their connections can see the post. So that opens it up to their connections and whoever else's connections. So the ability to like expand your relationships, even if I don't necessarily have something for you right at the time, maybe someone I know does, or maybe you planted that seed and then maybe later down the road I can call you back and be like, hey, I finally got a job at me, are you still available? So I definitely think it would work in your benefit.
You know, just like send a message on LinkedIn too, that how to do it.
Personalized connection is definitely the main way. Your network can't be too big. You know, it can be if you're just, you know, connecting with Chinese robots and whatever else on there. But, you know, so be targeted in that as far as specific companies, you know, industries, whatever else. But yeah, personalized connection requests. I always read those and I get a lot. If somebody says something in there and it's like this action, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk about it.
And that's what it goes back to finding the recruiters that are right for you. Because like a small company that specializes in senior cybersecurity positions, they're obviously not going to have, right, entry level. But if you deal with like the bigger ones, like Tech Systems, for example, they're, I think, the first or second largest IT staffing company in the States. They have entry level positions. What's the name of that one company that like you do day labor with them? it's like tech something.
But it's a
It's
temporary.
like, yeah, it was a way that we used to help people get, to break into the tech, to just get, like, you would go and they would place you on a contract, like, even if it was like figuring out if like they would have a contract with Honeywell, and then they'd send in like 10 techs that were all entry level, and you would do like virus removal on like 100 computers.
Or just setting up desktops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the name of that company, it was like one company in Tampa
I remember you talking
that
about.
used to like, we used to send everybody there to start off, and like every day you'd be somewhere else, or you'd be on a week contract, and if you like showed them you were responsible, they were hitting you up because then you were the lead on like the virus removal from Honeywell. I'm gonna think of the name, it'll come to me as soon as I want.
But that's why you also use events like this too, because as you meet people, really, hey, Mike, I met you at B-Sides, that has just talked to you. I'm looking for exposition, so if it's okay, can I send you my resume and maybe you may know someone, and that's how it spreads legs. Because you want to multiply you. And using tools like that is one of the best ways to do it, because I work for CACI, for example, and I always say, hey, send me your resume. I may not be the guy, but I'll put it into the system. And the system may have an opening somewhere that may fit you, and they will contact you. But that job may be in DC. Are you willing to move? That's another question, right? I'm sharing that with you because that's reality, right? Not everything's gonna be Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando. You might have to pop smoke, but there's still options out there. Lastly, always put the most important things about you at the top of the resume. For example, if you don't have a lot of work experience, but you have a bachelor's degree, you're on the cyber team at the school, put that up front. Because now the recruiters see that right from the top. If you have a security clearance, you work in DOD or the government, put that up front. Because they automatically know, at least they have a clearance, so they check that box. Now let's dig into what else is here. So you want to open with your best stuff. I guess that's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't put it at the bottom, because by the time that happens, like they just said, you won't get a few minutes. They never see it down there. Look it up top, stay current, don't let your resume die. It's a living, breathing document. You should be updating at least every 90 days minimum. If you did a class online, throw it in there. You just never know what day or two. Okay. Anybody else got any questions before we wrap up? We're going to skip the mock interview because of time. I know.
ATEX systems is the ATEX has the entry-level jobs. Tech systems is TEK systems, the one that used to do the data systems. I'd have to see if they still do it.
Well, any questions before we wrap up? Because we had to, keynote, wrapping up about 3:30.
Yeah, but I mean, that.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Sorry, y'all.
This was awesome. It is.
Thank you, guys.
Look great in that color.
That's why I'm just beating you. I cannot go back 10 years. It's a small world. No, you're doing something. Every little bit. How old are you? What college you I wish you were there all day. Yeah. Right.
I said, I'm gonna come out to resume review, and then you went off walking. What's going on? We're here to help. That's what happened. I said, review some resumes. Where'd you go? I'm here. He said, we're coming here to help. Yes, no, I got beers.
No, it's right here, right here.
I'm not going, you never there. So we are, you should go.
That's all right. We go back. Yeah. So we're from Jackie, so you want me to bring them to you?
I'm leaving, but.
You gonna work here? Your business, man. That's all good. Oh, that's cool. I understand. Where you rolling, I fully understand. Well, it's funny, so I was working on this. What's going on here? I didn't want to. Then I left it around.
Yeah,
The airport contract downtown, so like a government building. For the airport.
Yeah, I got it.
We're gonna go 3 years, we could have done one. Yes, when I was shopping and the guy who packed me was looking at, because the guy who, yes, listen, I'm in, he was government. And we all knew each other from way back in South Bend.
Pastor, it's a pleasure. I will
So.
chat with you.
You know, everybody's got blood and water.
It's funny, they're like, the job has received them, but they're very, they're here. We have to learn how to learn.
It's not pretty, man.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
So it's, stay in touch.
Yeah, it's.
Wow. I know, it's crazy. I like the positioning, I can appreciate it.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Kathy let us to get.
So that's supposed to drop.
Yeah.
Drop, it's 5 April.
Do tomorrow, I mean, next
No.
week, next week.
Wednesday, and then it rolls with the.
That's why I'm here this weekend. Making sure she show
So
up.
how you guys feel?
Good.
You know what? At first, I was like, just because I've been around.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, this is smart. I like the positioning of it. It's gonna come down to mission.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I saw you.
But that, that's going back to L3 had it way back.
They lots of moms.
I still do.
You know those service owners, you know,
HP position, about 100.
Never give me what I asked for, because that's not really what I want. I got it.
Back in the day, I'm like, he's like, I just need to, I don't know what you want, and I can't even.
It was so ugly.
It was so ugly. It was ugly, but
I
we'll
hope
see.
this goes on.
It's fun that Joe Keith's back in there.
Well, he's been through that record, so that's a good thing. He's not with us.
And I saw him yesterday, and he looked at me because I was at Ted's retirement. He said, I'm glad now, I'm gonna do what you do.
Yeah.
He is. He knows, because he knows what I'm
He
doing.
had to do with GD, he knows.
All right. You guys have a great weekend. Yes, sir.
He should have got some time. Hindsight's it is what it is. Just like that.
Well, thanks again for.
Yes,
inviting
thank
me.
y'all. I appreciate you. Yeah.
I'm here because
That's right. I didn't have a resume. Don't invite back.
He gave great input.
He did.
Great input.
As soon as I said that.
Empty chair right there.
No. Be careful what you ask for. There's wisdom in there.
Hey,
Trust me, this body not here just because.
That's true.
Believe it or not.
I wait, I can see, he's got, he has some.
Awesome. Oh, okay.
And
Did you show
Yeah,
him?
I love that. Kate Conley, she's our admin.
what color?
Canada Dunn.
Black. Oh, that's right.
So what is he getting?
For Kate Conley.
Well, how much?
Yeah.
Oh, they got mine for 110, they got hers for 150.
That's very good. I bought them in this, I told you, I bought $275. And that was for 18-year-old. And I do whatever she.
Is he a sneakerhead to the heart?
Yeah.
Always has been.
I didn't know he.
You got y'all doing the same thing now?
I was already buying them. I actually just got the pandas myself like the other day.
I love
Drop
that.
on Nike.
So did you get them in blue? Blue for men?
I mean, they do make them in blue, like oil blue.
Yeah.
Right.
You get a new pair?
Like, looking like that.
It's my man.
Let me look at my inventory.
Yeah.
I'm not too much on the sneaker stuff, but he got me with all the apps, I'm signed up on everything, man.
They have to now, I don't know how they work, if they resize. What size do you wear?
I wear 9.5, like low shoes, it's like 10.
And the high top?
Yeah, no, it's not big shoe. It's not a, it's like, it's like an Asian shop. It's
Yeah.
Hundreds all over. Give me those.
Wow. Right. I bought her one pair because she was amazing. And they were.
And I'm here, so I'm here,
230.
call her.
230. And I was like,
Call,
that was hard for me, but she deserved it.
I leave next week Friday, so go back to Washington.
Okay, yeah, I'll get my eye out around.
So how, so,
Couldn't have been more than 21
so you
years
know
old.
the stores in New York that sell.
Man. That's what I'm talking about, this young kid.
Right,
This
there's one
girl
girl
told
in
me
Manhattan that I
about-
would go to.
She finished interning, she's like, $90,000. I'm like,
What you been talking about?
well, she's talking to the wrong people. They got a lot of bad parent coaches out there. Who don't get jobs.
Savage, what's your name?
No, not. Yeah, you
I
know.
know you're talking, and they, you can even bring it to the bottom, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe.
Yeah, Queens.
Right, I know.
Yeah, I know.
They get everything. All that stuff is right there at our fingertips.
Up there.
That's just another one.
Okay.
They do.
Oh, that's so new for that park, right?
Yeah, weeks.
Gotta do the.
Can't.
It's a different frame.
Who's running BD over there? Yeah.
Hopefully talk to somebody about it.
I know,
Yeah, cool, like, you know.
3 times on their BD. Whoever they got now, man. Like, not even Clifton at Scape is like going crazy.
Yeah, like,
So it's kind of like, I'm respecting Clifton, I see Tinman and what's his name in the airport every freaking other week.
Yeah.
They're being cool,
There's one
although Shield's kind of cold shoulder to me lately, but I'm like, well, it's not like, I don't even work in that division anymore. I'm side by side, I don't even care. I mean, I'm happy to help, but it's all business.
You may not say, they do have.
That's right.
It's fine, but.
Oh, there we go. These guys are campus now. They're getting good.
So they don't want,
No.
He's like,
Right in my face. Hard for these. Heck yes, we will. Go to work tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you, Izzy.
I'll try to run into one of the Nike stores.
Yeah, we got them that never stopped, so we might. Hey, man,
You too, man.
Hey, keep in touch.
Yeah, let me know when you settle back down on the ground.
Yeah. I'll hit you up, bring out to our, we get a lot of happy hours and stuff too.
Yeah.
You guys on too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, looking too, right?
Yeah. Okay, guys, take care.
Take care.
Yeah, I think two bottles.
Yeah.